Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no. Why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir? It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Tuesday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Thanks, everybody, very much for being here. Appreciate you all checking in with us on what is a very snowy Tuesday afternoon here in upstate New York. Could be our last snow of the season. It's supposed to warm up considerably after today. Not as warm as Vietnam. What's the temperature out there? It's pretty hot, right?
Yo, today was like a lovely rainy day. It was like pouring rain. It was really, really nice. But yeah, no, it's hard to say with the humidity, but like high 80s, low 90s, like once you start to come down south, completely different temperatures up.
Interesting.
Up in the north, it was pretty cool. Like Sapa, I was wearing the winter jacket I left New York with up there.
That's right. You brought your jacket, dressed for all seasons. Indeed.
Yep.
We got 728 in the YouTube chat. Start things off 301.
Let me just give him a shout out. I keep forgetting to load in the video. I met my first dissident on the road. If you're an OG dissident, you probably recognize the name Pete Sweet.
Yep.
He was a union organizer for the auto workers union. He's retired now. Literally ran into him walking into a coffee shop. He recognized me.
Wow.
So I'll throw that up on Thursday. I got pictures. I got video. I keep forgetting to do it. But yeah, that's the first time. That was the first time since I've been here. I ran into somebody.
Nice.
We got people in Da Nang. Like I've been getting messages from people who want to get together. I'm going to Da Nang next. Tomorrow, right. Actually.
I'll shout out Michael Castillo. I shouted him out on the Patreon stream. I don't know if you watched it, but I got my slab of 2.5 million year old petrified wood as a gift from Michael Castillo. So thank you very much for this. It's a very pretty piece. I don't know where to mount it though, because I have a 1.5 year old. This thing weighs a fucking 1,000 pounds.
Oh yeah.
Drop this fucking thing on Iran. You know, I mean, this is it's really heavy. So I got to be careful where I mount it because this would do some damage if it fell on them. But thank you. I'll find a safe place for it. But thank you very much, Michael Castillo, if you're watching. All right. Let's get started. Let's get started. Lots of news to get to today, of course. Hey, this was huge news yesterday. Marco Rubio spills the beans on who started the war. That's right. Rapid Response 47, which is an official, verified government account, by the way. It's going to come up later in the segment. They tweet out this clip of Marco Rubio explaining the wise decision, the very wise decision, to take action against Iran.
Operation with a very clear goal in mind. I haven't got a chance to see a lot of reporting. I don't understand what the confusion is. Let me explain it to you, and I'll do it once again as clearly as possible. Perhaps you'll report it that way. The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned.
Okay, so what he's saying is we knew Israel was going to hit, and because the United States and Israel are joined at the hip, we were afraid that they would retaliate against U.S. bases and locations if Israel hit. So when we talk about a preemptive strike, it wasn't preemptive against Iran necessarily. It was preempting their strikes against us because Israel jumped the gun. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying there.
The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Well, no, I mean, you might be answering questions about why you told Israel no. Like, that was also an option. You could have told Israel, listen, don't attack. If you attack, you're on your own. And you could have told the Iranians that. You could have made an announcement, hey, by the way, if Israel strikes, we had nothing to do with it. So leave us out of it. That was an option. But, of course, that doesn't even occur to this government. I don't even think that they considered that. Like, that may as well not be an option to these people in the so-called United States government. It feels more like Israel's government than ours. And even Matt Walsh is figuring that out. Taking a big risk at the Daily Wire over there, talking like this. So he's flat out telling us that we're in a war with Iran because Israel forced our hand. This is basically the worst possible thing he could have said. Yeah, Thomas Massey's been kind of trolling Matt Walsh a bit. When Matt Walsh came out skeptical of the Iran war, Massey said something to the effect of, wow, that's really true. Are you allowed to say that, at your outfit there? So here's Massey quote tweeting him again. The administration admits Israel dragged us into the Iran war that's already cost too many American lives and billions of dollars. Before it's over, the price of gas, groceries, and virtually everything else is going to go up. The only winners in America are defense company shareholders, and of course those who are in the Epstein files. Bradley Martin says, so Israel determines what the U.S. does. That's right. This is pretty obvious to everybody. Matt Stoller says, so why not attack Israel to prevent their preemptive strike? Right. If you're going to preemptively strike, right, and that's going to cause the war, it sounds like Israel was the aggressor here. Seems like a fair point. Mel says the U.S. does not have a mutual defense pact with Israel. We are under zero obligation to assist them. And in fact, if they take actions that put our troops in harm's way, our president is under direct obligation to stop them. This is a BS excuse, and every American should fully reject it. Well, I think every American does understand this, and a vast majority of them are rejecting this already. That's the good news. We'll get to that later in the stream. John Favreau says White House actually leaning in on the Bibi made us do it rationale for war. See, this administration has now brought together Matt Walsh and John Favreau. That's how you know you're wrong, when you're hearing it from both of those two. Piers Morgan says, what? So the preemptive threat was based on prior knowledge that Israel was going to attack Iran? This is nuts. Yeah, usually when you say we're going to preemptively strike, you're preempting action by Iran. You're not preempting action by your ally, which you then fear will provoke a reaction by your adversary. But that's the way we do things here in 2026. Sagar Enjeti says 3 days ago, it was an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory to say Israel was dragging the U.S. into war with Iran. Today, the Secretary of State said Israel was going to strike no matter what, and that the U.S. had to join the war. Exactly. And this is too much for even Mark Warner. Mark Warner, one of the most conservative Democrats in the Senate. He famously went on MS Now, formerly MSNBC, and sort of greased the skids for the war. Hardly a peacenik here. But here he is saying we're in uncharted territory if Israel is dragging us into war.
Also, be clear. I've said before, I've said now, there was no imminent threat to the United States of America by the Iranians. There was a threat to Israel. If we equate a threat to Israel as the equivalent of an imminent threat to the United States, then we are in uncharted territory. We have seen the goals for this operation change now, I believe, 4 or 5 times.
So that's very, very conservative Democrat Mark Warner, pro-war Democrat Mark Warner, forced to say that, hey, if Israel's dictating policy this directly, moment to moment, we are in uncharted territory. So Axios reports Rubio's war remarks blow open MAGA's Israel divide. MAGA's ascendant America First wing erupted after Secretary of State Marco Rubio effectively blamed Israel for drawing the U.S. into war with Iran. Rubio's remarks were the first time a Trump official had so explicitly acknowledged Israel as a driving force behind the war, landing at a moment when Americans' public support for Israel has hit historic lows. That's right. New Gallup poll for the first time saw support for Palestine higher than support for Israel, 41 to 36. The U.S. couldn't stop its ally, a far smaller nation that America arms, funds, and protects, from attacking Iran on Saturday. So the U.S. had to strike Iran too. Not quite, U.S. officials said later. Regardless of Israel, they said Trump ordered the strikes because he felt Iran was negotiating a nuclear deal in bad faith, and the U.S. needed to destroy the country's offensive military infrastructure. Well, that is cope, but if you want to read real cope, here's cope from the National Review, which, by the way, just before air, the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, actually tweeted this article out. So this is what they're going with. This is what is now passing for damage control for the White House, an op-ed from the National Review. No, Marco Rubio didn't claim Israel dragged Donald Trump into war with Iran. A large cadre of commentators have begun arguing that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dragged President Donald Trump unwillingly into war with Iran. At first blush, this theory received a boost from comments made by Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Monday. But listening to Rubio's full comments in context, it's pretty clear that he wasn't actually advancing this theory. Okay, well, if you have a problem with the context, what you have to understand is that this tweet was not from a random pundit or commentator. This video was clipped and tweeted out by Rapid Response 47, which, as you can see with the silver check mark, this is a verified government-affiliated account. This is the official White House Rapid Response account supporting POTUS's America First agenda and holding the fake news accountable. MAGA verified, meaning it's verified because it's an affiliate of the White House on X. So you can't really complain that it was taken out of context when a White House affiliate handle is what tweeted this out in the first place. In other words, the White House itself chose the context. So you can't really bitch that it was taken out of context. It's not like Pod Save America found this and tweeted it out. This is coming from the White House itself. So the context is of your own making. In his remarks, Rubio made 2 main points. One was about the purpose of the war against Iran, which he said was to eliminate their ballistic missile threat, their attack drones, and the threat their Navy poses to global shipping. He then said the second question I've been asked is, why now? In answering this question, Rubio said, we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces, and we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties. This is the clip that is being taken as proof that he's saying that Netanyahu forced the U.S. into the war. But those making this argument are conflating, look at this cope here, are conflating the question of why with the question of why now. In fact, if you watch the full press conference, Rubio himself later makes this clear. Oh, later? You mean after he stuck his foot in his mouth and admitted that Israel dragged us on the war into the war? Later in the press conference, he decided to clarify that. At about the 5-minute mark, he's asked explicitly whether he was saying that the U.S. was forced to attack Iran due to an impending Israeli action, and he responded, no. He went on to say, now it's funny, we have to read about this in the National Review. It's funny the White House never tweeted out this very important clarification, which proves Israel did not march us into war.
Are you saying that a few minutes later, when confronted with the implications of what he said, he walked it back?
He walked it back 5 minutes later.
I can't believe that. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the walk back must be the accurate statement, not the one that he made off the cuff. Yeah.
Right. 5 minutes after he realized he stepped in shit, he issued this clarification. That's the question of why now. But this operation needed to happen because Iran, in about a year or a year and a half, would cross the line of immunity, meaning they would have so many short-range missiles, so many drones, that no one could do anything about it because they could hold the whole world hostage. Look at the damage they're doing now. Oh, you mean they could, like, negotiate, right? Like, if they're armed, they can actually negotiate so they can't be trampled upon. Like, we're armed. Some might say we hold the whole world hostage because we have these arms and other countries don't.
I would say most would.
I would say most would. Yes, most might say that. Look at the damage they're doing now. What? Okay, and this is a weakened Iran. Imagine a year from now. You said they were obliterated. You said the nuclear program was obliterated. Now you're talking about short-range missiles. So again, changing the argument. So that had to happen. Obviously, we were aware of Israeli intentions and understood what that would mean for us, and we had to be prepared to act as a result of it. But this had to happen no matter what. So that was the walk back, the sort of half walk back, wasn't even really much of a walk back, that the National Review is insisting is missing from the context. But again, the White House itself, a White House-affiliated X-handle, is the one who made this a big story in the first place. So parroting this question, why versus why now, and trying to split hairs to sort of walk back the Secretary of State's proclamation that, yes, we were dragged to war by Israel and for Israel. Here is Senator Tom Cotton on Fox News doing extra cleanup duty here.
Story out there that the president was pushed into this battle by Benjamin Netanyahu. What's the truth?
Well, first, Brian, no one pushes or drags Donald Trump anywhere. He acts in the national security interest of the United States.
He's an alpha male, just like me. We're all alpha males here. We don't get dragged anywhere. We're the ones who drag you where we want to drag you.
And second, Secretary...
Daddy has needs, and sometimes those needs involve grabbing my ears and pulling my head down towards his crotch. I accept that because he's a big, strong man. Not like me. I'm a little married, as he tells me often.
Rubio addressed this point yesterday after our Gang of Eight briefing. Israel faced an existential risk, and they were prepared to strike Iran alone. If that happened, Iran was very likely to target our troops. That may address the question of why now.
Okay, so then they weren't. Just play that sentence back in your head. They were willing to strike alone, but if they did that, we, the United States, feared they would target our troops. That means they were not willing to strike alone. That's what that means, and that's what you're saying there. If you're saying they're willing to strike alone and deal with the consequences themselves, well, at that point, the thing for us to do would be to say, hey, good luck, fellas. May the best country win. Right?
And you know what? If we did do that, I bet you Iran would not strike us. If we said, hey, they're on their own. Do your worst. Just leave us out of it.
Whatever you got to do.
I promise you, they would not hit U.S. assets if you did that.
Of course not.
Alone. If that happened, Iran was very likely to target our troops. That may address the question of why now? Why not 2 weeks ago? Why not 2 months from now? The president, though, did not want to put our troops in harm's way. The more fundamental question, though, is why? Why did we have to carry out this operation?
They're really doubling down on this why versus why now, as if this is a meaningful distinction, as if you're really going to sell the American public on the question of, well, you know, it's one thing to ask why now, but the bigger question is why. You're asking why, but you should be asking why now. If war is a last resort, then why and why now are the same thing, right? Yeah, most people agree that war should be a last resort. War is when diplomacy fails. So if war is a last resort, then there is no meaningful difference between asking why and why now. By definition, it's why now, right? You only take the action in the present. You don't take the action in the future. And if the action is supposed to be a last resort, then there's really no difference between why and why now. But this is what they think they're going to sell the public on, this parsing out of, well, I just said why we had to do it now. You got to think about why. I can't even keep track of which one they are prioritizing, why versus why now. But we have an update. This just came in right before the show here. Donald Trump taking questions here. Reporter asked, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes? And Trump says, no, I might have forced their hand, as if that makes it better. This makes it worse. So here we go. Let's take a look.
Mr. President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand.
Yeah, no, it was my idea.
You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics.
Right.
And it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
Yeah. No one believes that. This is just absolute buffoonery.
These guys that I sent over there, they've been very successful negotiators in New York real estate. The term was very often applied to them. They would Jew people down. They would Jew people down. But the Iranians, they don't respond well to that. So we had to bomb them. They wouldn't be Jewed down. They wouldn't be Jewed down. And forget about Jewing the Israelis. You can't out-Jew the Jews, that's for sure. So we kind of had to go in.
Had no choice. Everything fell apart. Yeah, so this is what they think is going to work. They think this is going to pass. Of course, what Donald Trump said there is total nonsense. The reason why there's all this panic and parsing and semantics going on is precisely because Marco Rubio told the truth in that moment. He spilled the beans. Everybody knows that's exactly what happened. We knew Israel was going to strike first, and we figured, all right, I guess they're going to attack the United States if Israel strikes first, because the United States apparently, for some reason, does not have the option of telling Israel, don't do this, and if you do this, you're on your own. Apparently, that's just not even something that crosses the mind of people at the top of this government. And so that's exactly what happened. And the fact that Rubio felt the need to walk it back, it's funny how the National Review thinks that they're really cleaning it up by pointing this out. And once again, I don't have it to show on the slide because it just happened, but the White House press secretary actually tweeted out this article. So they're in damage control mode. You don't go into damage control mode when a lie slips out. You go into damage control mode when the truth slips out. And everybody knows what the truth of this is. It's patently obvious. The White House is in shambles. The conservative media space is beyond in shambles. I mean, MAGA has fractured over this in ways that make the Epstein files look like a game of patty cake. This is what happens. This is what happens when your leader has no convictions and when your government is completely in the pocket of the Israelis.
Yeah, you just watch these people getting up in front of microphones and telling these obvious lies. And, anyone who at this point still believes that you're living in a democracy, and I think that's a shrinking number of people, you're not paying attention. What is it? Over 80% of the American public was against taking any action against Iran. I think it was 82%.
Almost 80. Now it's 27, so 73, yeah.
What has that accomplished? In what way do you have a democracy? Tucker was asking Huckabee about that. He really had no meaning. Yes, the public's opinion does matter. Okay, well, most people don't want this. Well, and he starts getting into, we don't have direct democracy, essentially.
Well, don't forget
that's what he was arguing.
Most people who are saying that, most people who are answering yes in that 27% are doing so because they like Trump. Like, you know, if you were to poll them a few weeks ago, they'd probably say, no, we shouldn't do it. It's a retroactive yes because
and that's another thing.
Yeah.
Every single thing he ran on, he's doing the exact polar opposite, to the point that even the mindless chuds cannot help but notice, hang on a second, didn't he say he keep us out of Iran? This ain't what I did. He has finally pushed it so far, they can no longer jump up and say, this is what I voted for.
Benny Johnson had Cernovich on the other day. They're saying, yeah, you can't just sell these things anymore. You can't just say it was necessary anymore. People are jaded. Like, even that level is like, ugh. I mean, you're really down to Gunther Eagleman. You're down to, like, the Twitter handles. You're down to people who won't go on camera. Like, at this point, anybody who will go on camera, anybody who has to show their face on camera is not coming out for this. Jack Posobiec is very lukewarm on this. Benny Johnson, like, you're talking about
He's
real
still
hacks.
got Eric Doherty.
Yeah, well, because Eric Doherty doesn't do a show, right? So Eric Doherty, whatever, I'm tweeting. It doesn't matter, right? Yeah. No, it is just absolutely brutal. It's just absolutely horrible. It's really horrible.
You watch these people, and they all belong in prison. You are ruled by psychopathic criminals for whom the public is an obstacle to work around, not an entity to serve. They do not see themselves as servants. They see themselves as rulers of the people. To the extent that they engage with the people, it's to the extent that they feel like they have to. At this point, it almost feels like a lot of it is custom.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, these people, I mean,
you're
this government,
supposed to act like you represent people. You're supposed to pretend.
In a way, in this context, it's even worse. Like, this government, they seem like servants to Netanyahu. They seem like, I mean, they are serving Israel. This is a government that is occupied by Israel. There's no other way to say that. You can call that conspiratorial. It's not. It's in broad daylight. Everybody sees it.
Well, they're also, I mean, they're openly hostile to the public interest, from glyphosate to removing all safeguards from AI. Yeah. And then, hey, let's integrate it into the world's deadliest weapon systems at the Pentagon. What could possibly go wrong?
Right.
Like, these people are really, I said it from the beginning, I think it's becoming more and more evident. They're trying to kill you. They want you dead.
Yeah. This is the depopulation agenda carried over, no doubt.
Yep.
Eric Rousseau, Iran Mullah, they hate our kebabs because our kebabs are paradise and the great Satan's is weak. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Vientica says everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so you don't comply. All right, you modified it slightly there, but that was one of the greatest hits. EO Shush, we knew Israel was going to attack, and if we didn't launch a preemptive strike, the president would be in harm's way with a leaked tape. Yeah, exactly. Vientica, the song Blame Canada needs to be changed to Blame Israel. Yeah, no kidding. Shady Deals, Cotton is up for re-election, and his Dem opposition is pathetic. Get used to more hee-haw bullshit. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how these fucking people get reelected time after time. Lindsey Graham's up for reelection too. Always enjoy your witty humor, boys, says T-Bone. Have a great show. DD rocks. Thank you, T-Bone. Appreciate that. All right, got some super chats over there?
So I'm looking at this. All right, so what is it? The Dubai airport is out? Like, what is the story that was breaking?
Yeah, something's going on with Dubai. I think some tourists got stuck in Dubai, right?
Oh, yeah? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Originally I was going to go to Dubai. It's a good thing I didn't.
Yeah.
Mark Pugliese, am I the only one that sees the resemblance between Lindsay G and Porky Pig? I could see that. I was going to go to Dubai because I found Sex in the City 2 so inspiring. Me Shoot Skeet, super sticker. Thank you, man. I was very empowered by that. Michael Castillo, I mailed the stand separately on accident.
I have it. I have it. Here's the stand. The stand's right here. I have it. But the problem is, if I put it up here, see what my baby does is sometimes he comes in here and he fucks around. So if he shakes the thing even slightly, it'll capsize. So I got to find a place that's like low to the ground. So don't worry, I'll find a place for it. But I just wanted to show it to you on the screen.
That would not be good.
Not good. Michael, not good.
Not good. Michael Durkin. New class-based band, Us Versus Them, similar to Rage Against the Machine, songs Silencers, Good Cop, and No War But.
Sorry, that was my fault.
And No War But Class War on YouTube, Instagram, TT, what's TT? And X.
TikTok, I guess, right?
TikTok. Oh, right. Yeah. TikTok. I've never seen it called that, actually. Media Le Grand Soir. Here's $5 for the good work and another $5 for the efforts to pronounce my name. I think I did pretty good just now.
Here, Michael, what I'll do, I'll meet you halfway, Michael. I'll display the stand to the wood. And then I'll find a safe place for the wood, and I'll show it to you when I do it. You know, hey, if God willing, we're still doing the show in 5 or 6 years when they're tall enough where it won't be an issue, then it'll be fine. Then I can put it right here.
Then you can do it. You just have to wait, man. Just have to wait.
Just gotta wait. The wood will still be there. It lasted 2.5 million years. It can go another 5.
If God willing, there's still a society and electricity in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
we might still be doing the show.
Exactly. There's still electricity in 5 years. That's right. That's right. All right. Let's move right on along.
Okay. So Benjamin Netanyahu. Hang on. I thought you had a second one. I thought you set it up where you had
Yeah, no, we set it up. Now you got 2 in a row now.
Okay. All right. So Benjamin Netanyahu has been working towards this a long time, and he's very eager to tell you that. He wants to tell you that. He feels that that's going to play well. He's saying it in Hebrew, though. Maybe he doesn't realize how easy it is to get an instant translation these days. It's for a domestic audience. We are in a campaign in which we are bringing the full force of the IDF to this campaign as never before to ensure our existence and our future. But we are also bringing to this campaign the assistance of the United States, my friend, United States President Donald Trump, the United States military. And this combination of forces allows us to do what I have been wishing to do for 40 years. To decisively strike the terrorist regime. I promised so-and-so it will be done. I guess that's avoiding the name of God, right? Now, don't worry. If any of you are worried about the family Netanyahu, don't worry. When he talks about sacrifice of soldiers, he doesn't mean anyone dear to him. Netanyahu's son is living in a luxury apartment in Miami with $680,000 a year in state-funded personal security. Meanwhile, Americans are dying for Israel in the Middle East. So if anyone there was worried about Netanyahu's son, don't worry. He's fine. He's drinking Long Island iced teas down there in Miami.
My son gets a lot of pussy. I will have you know.
He gets quite a lot. He doesn't know what to do with it, but he gets it.
He gets it.
But hey, he's not kidding. He's wanted to do this for 40 years. In fact, there's tape. There's tape of him trying to lie the world into attacking Iran for 40 years. For 40 years of evidence right here.
Produce a nuclear
exaggeration.
Weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90%
6 months away. This is 2012.
Uranium for an atom
bomb.
bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
1996.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
That's 1995. That's 1995. What else has he been saying for 40 years? More than 40 years, actually. This is a clip from 1980 of Netanyahu talking about how Israel controls the Congress and the Senate. We have the Senate, the Congress, and a record-strong Jewish lobby on our side. We have a strong influence over the general support in America. America won't force us into anything. This is 1980. And here he is in 2001, being even more explicit. Aren't you afraid of what they'll say, Bibi? No. Especially today with the U.S., I know how they are. America is something. Hang on. It's fast. He's doing that Hebrew fast talking. Sometimes they do that. With the U.S., I know how they are. America is something that you can easily maneuver and move in the right direction. And even if they say something, so then they say something, so what? 80% of Americans support us. By Americans, he means American Jews. It's absurd. We have such support there, and here we're thinking what we should do if. Okay? So there he is. For 40 years, he's been lying about Iran's capacity to build a weapon and trying to instigate a war against them on that basis. He finally found someone servile, craven, and moronic enough to take him up on it in one Donald Trump. And for over 40 years, he's been in front of cameras in interviews. How much contempt could you have for the country to be saying these things in front of freaking cameras? Oh, yeah, don't worry. We got them. We got them. How assured do you have to be that what you're saying is true? You have so much control over the United States that you could humiliate the United States on camera that way and brag about how much control Israel has over the United States without fear that you might lose some of that control. And he was right. He was right. Look at this. He's bragging about it for 46 years. He's bragging about on camera about the control Israel has over the government. And look where he is. Look where he is. So we're gonna take another look at this because Netanyahu did respond to this. So this is Marco Rubio saying what is supposed to be the soft part out loud. That is what's good about having an administration of morons, crackpots, freaks, weirdos, and people full of arrogance and hubris. A lot of times they tell the truth by accident. So he told the truth here by accident.
Is why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act. Going back.
Yeah, no, everybody would be mad that you didn't start World War III. Everyone would be very angry about that. So Netanyahu went on with what can only be described as the ultimate friendly figure. Knew he wasn't going to get any hard questions from Hannity. But Hannity does give him a chance to respond to this. And as many have pointed out, Netanyahu has a pretty evil laugh. He can't quite hide his true nature here when asked about whether they dragged the U.S. into this war.
Time worth of study, in my view. And I want to ask you this. You know, there are people that say, well, the prime minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. And as somebody that's been friends with him over 30 years, nobody drags Donald Trump into anything, number one. But I want to get your reaction to that.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's ridiculous. Donald Trump is the strongest leader in the world. He does what he thinks is right for America. He does also what he thinks is right for future generations. And frankly, we're partners in that effort because I've devoted my life to securing the life of the one and only Jewish state. And believe me, it's been a struggle. I've known the pangs of war. I lost a brother in war and in battle. I myself fought terrorists and was wounded in liberating hostages from a hijacked plane. I held a fellow soldier in my arms when I was 18, and he died in my arms. I know the cost of war, but I know sometimes that war is necessary to protect us from the people who would destroy us. And that's what free society
these days,
understand.
it's the only thing that allows me to get an erection thinking about war, death, destruction, horror. So you saw his comments about the United States and what he thinks of the United States, going all the way back to 1980. Do you think he believes that Donald Trump is a strong leader? Do you think he sees Donald Trump as a partner? You literally have him on camera more than once talking about how subservient the United States is to Israel. And hey, here's the big guy. Here's the big guy pulling out that chair, man. He's look, he's like a waiter at IHOP when Bibi shows up there at the White House.
Yeah.
According to reports, they bring their laundry. They bring their laundry when they come to the White House. So yeah, there's absolutely no way Netanyahu sees Trump as an equal partner that they're fighting Iran with. He's a servant, as you can see here. That's a servant. It's not a leader. It's a servant.
And speaking of servants, while we're paused for just a moment, I just have to say, Trump promoted this Hannity interview, and they get Hannity, the hack of all hacks, to just tee up a softball. Now, some people are saying that you forced Donald Trump's hand. Is that true? Like only Hannity would go as low as to just tee that up for him, because as we're going to see in my segment later, even people like Megyn Kelly are not going for this. So you have to just scrape the bottom of the hack barrel. And
you're really down to that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
You are absolutely. And it's funny, the National Review, which, because they are like Bill Kristol neocons, has tended to be critical of Trump. Now they like him. Now they like him. Now they're running cover for him.
Of course.
All right. So Netanyahu then goes on in this interview to you file this under every accusation as a confession. Goes on to talk about the madness and obsession of Iran and its violence and its tendency to attack everybody. It's an incredible monologue if you know absolutely anything about Israel's history in general, and particularly its recent history.
The reason that we had to act now is because they were, after we hit their nuclear sites and their ballistic missiles program, you'd think they learned a lesson. But they didn't, because they're unreformable. They're totally fanatic about this, about the goal of destroying America. So they started building new sites, new places.
It's what they live for.
That would make their ballistic missile program and their atomic bomb programs immune within months. If no action was taken now, no action could be taken in the future. And then they could target America, they could blackmail America, they could threaten us and threaten everyone in between. So action had to be taken, and you needed a resolute president like Donald J. Trump.
You needed a president who's been on the receiving end of Miriam's 15 inches.
You needed a president.
For me, I always do what I'm told. I'm a good boy. Sometimes he needs a little talking to from Miriam's 15 inches.
You needed a president who's in the Epstein files to make this happen.
We needed that, and we needed a Congress that's mostly in the Epstein files. And we needed an entire oligarch class that's in the Epstein files. Okay, so hey, Iran is a crazy cuckoo bird threat to its neighbors. This isn't going back to 1952 now, right? How many countries has Israel attacked in 2025? From Al Jazeera, Israel has attacked more countries than any other country this year. Well, that's no surprise. In 2025, Israel attacked at least 6 countries, including Palestine, Iran, Lebanon, Qatar, Syria, and Yemen. It also carried out strikes in Tunisian, Maltese, and Greek territorial waters on aid flotillas heading for Gaza. According to Armed Conflict Location and Event Data, an independent conflict monitor, from January 1st to December 5th, Israel carried out at least 10,631 attacks, marking one of the broadest geographic military offenses in a single year. So Netanyahu would have you believe that Iran is the threat to its neighbors, which is just absolutely absurd. You almost literally cannot look at the news without reading about Israel bombing one of its neighbors. It's pretty much a daily event that they're bombing somebody in that region. Just to put the cherry on the whipped cream, Netanyahu wants you to know that the difference between Israel and Iran is that Iran targets civilians and Israel doesn't. This is Saul Staniforth, a reminder that Netanyahu is wanted for war crimes that include directing attacks against civilians and extermination or murder as a crime against humanity. Let's hear him.
Was bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran against innocent civilians. You see the difference. The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran to protect civilians.
We protect civilians. Right out of the gate, they murdered an entire primary school full of girls, which again, as we pointed out the other night, where's J.K. Rowling? Where's J.K. Rowling, who's talking about the rights of Iranian women so loudly a couple months ago? I haven't heard her say a word. Have you seen any of these people who were supporting the protests, largely astroturfed, by the way? I'm not saying there are no legitimate dissenters in Iran, but as many have pointed out, legitimate dissenters would not attack hospitals. They would not attack mosques in Iran. A lot of that was driven by Mossad, who bragged about it. They openly said,
we're here with you.
We're here with you. Okay. Where are all these people, man? Where are all these people? Because, it seems like a pretty severe abuse of women and girls, right? To bomb their school like that.
I would
and
say
they did that. They did that right off the bat. That was the first thing they did. Here are the mourners for now. More than 180 schoolgirls were killed. Someone should ask these civilians how protected they feel. And hey, we know what Israel's signature move is. They go right for the hospitals, right? Israeli U.S. missiles struck Sarpol Ez-Zaheb Martyrs Hospital in Kermanshah province, according to Fars news agency. Iranian media said the hospital was hit following missile fire on the city. The extent of the damage has not been independently verified. Earlier, the head of Iran's medical council organization said 10 medical centers, hospitals, and emergency bases have been damaged so far in U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran. That's an Israeli signature move, right? When this is from Adame Media back in June 2024. When Israel bombed the first hospital in Gaza, the world wouldn't believe it, and Israel blamed a misfired rocket from Hamas. Israel has now destroyed all 36 hospitals in Gaza, including its largest medical facility, the Al-Shifa Hospital. This is a genocide. This is by June 2024. Israel had bombed every hospital in Gaza. You remember that? Oh, no, it's an errant missile. It was a misfire from Hamas. They would never. Education International. Israel has bombed all of Gaza's 11 universities since October 7, 2023. This was July 2025. Around 370 schools have been damaged or destroyed, leaving more than 620,000 students out of school. All public libraries are gone. The UN defines this as scholasticide, the systemic obliteration of education through the arrest, detention, or killing of teachers, students, and staff, and the destruction of educational infrastructure. For Netanyahu to get up in front of cameras and claim that the difference between Israel and Iran is that they protect civilians, I must say I am old enough that it's kind of incredible that we ever fell for this, because for most of my life we did. Like, everything that you were told about how the world works and who the bad guys are and who the good guys are, all of it has always been a lie. It's not as if Israel lost its way. This is who Israel has always been. And part of the reason that we support that is because it's not an aberration for us to support a genocidal colonizing state. We're a genocidal colonizing state. It's not an aberration for Europe to, in turn, as we'll see later, be supporting us in these efforts. We learned it from them. Europe is our parent as a nation. Our original founders, that was their orientation. That was their background. We have always been a people with an underlying belief in our own cultural superiority, and that has always had a very strong strain of racism, and we see that in the way the media covers these things in its portrayal of worthy and unworthy victims. We saw that erupt into the open by accident when the Ukraine war broke out, and you actually had a reporter come out and say, you know, we're just not used to seeing this with people who look like us, frankly. Just came right out and said that. Yeah, and you can see that in the way that these schoolgirls are being covered, meaning not covered. Could you imagine if that happened? What if that happened in Ukraine? What if that happened in Ukraine? What if you had a schoolhouse full of white, blonde, blue-eyed girls get bombed? Almost, that would be front page everywhere. You're going to say a lot of that is not that they're not white. Of course, a lot of that is that. That is still ingrained very much in the psyche of the West. We saw that when Marco Rubio gave a speech that would make Simon Legree start rethinking his life decisions. And you had a standing ovation from these European leaders who are now giving a metaphorical standing ovation to this. Netanyahu is not a cancer on the West. Netanyahu is the West. Netanyahu is the West taken to its logical conclusion. If you are a product of the West and a person in the West, your job now is to do everything you can to push back against this system within the confines of the law. You need to do everything you can to make it impossible for this system to function. Ultimately, what you really need is a general strike. The unfortunate thing is we don't have the organization for that, as Chris Smalls said when I asked him about it, when I saw him at a protest in New York. But that is really what we need. We need to grind the wheels of this system to a halt, because it is our countries, not just the United States, the Europeans as well, that are enabling this evil to continue.
Well, you know, you ask yourself, okay, shouldn't Israelis of good conscience leave Israel right? Like, how could you be a part of a country like that, right? You can ask that question because there are human rights groups within Israel, plus 972 magazine, B'Tselem, right? And you ask, okay, how can you stay? And the wrinkle in that is, well, we can ask the same of ourselves. Why don't we go back to Europe where we fucking came from, right? I mean, we're a bunch of colonizers here. Thanksgiving, you go down to the butcher shop, you got a bunch of fucking fat white people lining up for turkeys. This is not our land. Look at how we conquered this land, right? So you can ask that culture wide, and it is not just a white thing, but a Western thing. Because to your point about Ukraine, if you remember at the beginning of the Ukraine war, the West was treating Putin the way now we anti-Zionists view Netanyahu. I mean, they would say Putin's a madman. He's on a genocidal campaign. He's going to take over all of what?
He's a madman.
All of Europe, right? Jamal Bowman, right? He's going to take over all of Europe, meaning he is going to infringe on the West. Putin's a white man, right? So it's not necessarily about being white. It's about this arrogance that we are the enlightened people of the world who have so much to offer that even if we spread our way of life at the barrel of a gun or by dropping bombs from the sky, we're doing the world a favor. Right. That is the arrogance behind the entire expansionist project. And of course, it's all a lie. Obviously, Netanyahu is arguably. I mean, we'll see how this goes. But I think potentially at this point, you can make the case that he's the most influential world leader of the past half century. I mean, he's been a prominent Israeli political figure since the 80s, more than half of Israel's lifespan as a country. He has been in a position of extreme influence, not necessarily prime minister the whole time, but he was their representative to the UN. That's how he got his start. And his career not only spans most of his life, it spans most of Israel's lifespan. And so depending on how this goes, hopefully this war will be somewhat of a failure to launch, as I suspect it might be, because you're already seeing the White House backtrack on messaging and stuff like that. Like, people are just not having it. So that's a discussion for a different segment. But point is, of course, this is what the West is. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu is a perfect embodiment of the West. That's why we love him as much as we do. That's why we allowed him to drag us into war, because we don't view him as an aberration. He is a representation of the way this government and many European governments, unfortunately, see their role in the world, which is to expand into the East and into the global South. And that's because we are arrogant enough to feel like we're doing the world a favor.
Well, Israel is the perfect cover for the colonial project. It's the ultimate woke identity politics. You could do these monstrous things while signaling that you're supporting an oppressed minority. It's the perfect American sweet spot.
Right. Exactly. All right. So you want to take some super chats?
All right. Virtuoso Keaton, we need a new AI rock band, Port of Hormuz.
Yeah, Port of Hormuz. That's right. Yeah.
Shai Guevara, the Schadenfreude from seeing bougie, money-chasing asshats sleeping in basements and panicking because their Dubai bubble at the heart of the empire is literally burning in front of them.
See, I don't even know where I've been all day. I haven't really heard much about this. I heard a little about this, but I haven't heard much about it. Yeah, maybe it's because we've been working.
Yeah, we've been working on the show.
Yeah.
Untouchables. How do we think about it? This politically, the party who claims to be anti-regime change wars just initiated the worst one. The other party agrees. Listen, man, we're on YouTube. There's things I can't say. You need a revolution. That's all I'm going to say. You need a revolution. Satanica. Love from Bahrain. Still dodging incoming pew-pews, but I'll never miss a show. The love from Bahrain meme lives on. You know what? That's like that story. It was a true story. Where Pink Floyd, when they did the Wall tour, they would blow up the wall at the end of the concert, and a guy got shrapnel from the explosion. You want to talk about not a litigious society? This guy went to the hospital, got the shrapnel taken out, came back and watched the rest of the show. That's you, man. Well. P. Walker, only Israel can blackmail America, Bibi. Yeah. Christian Mallon, listening since 2023. Thanks for your hard work. Thank you, man. That was when we started to get serious about this whole thing as a YouTube show. Mark Pugliese, Russ, I've realized how fucked up we were since 1974. Why 1974? Oh, that was when you realized. I see. It took me a little longer than that. I was 5. Topher, MAGA equals Miriam Adelson goals achieved. Hells yeah. All right, we'll do one more there. Raylan Nichelle, you're so fucking right. 100, Russell, on the Chud segment. One of you two once said, these are people who literally prostitute for their political party. Profound truth on this show. Love you both. Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much.
Rumble
Appreciate
rant
that.
over there.
Yep. Freddie X. No one drags this president anywhere. At his weight, and have you seen his ankles? Where would you grab onto? Thank you, Freddie X. Appreciate that. A while ago, the head of NASA said that a few thousand people already had brain chips. Just look at your government and promoted influencers. Thank you, Vientikis. Mark Pugliese, can you use Trump's explanation as a defense against an assault charge? Yeah, exactly. Mark Pugliese, Huckabee said our democracy is important, and then he said, oh, you can't go by public opinion. Vienticus Prime, is your shelving anchored to the wall behind it, Keaton? No, this shelving is not anchored to the wall. I have it weighted down at the bottom because there's not really a place to anchor it without it looking like garbage for the show. But I do have it weighted down at the bottom, and I could zip tie it down there too to the little wall mounts. Let's see. Time to allow only Israelis vote in the U.S. elections. That would save AIPAC a lot of money. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Kinky. Vientica says, I shim and anchor all my shelving so they all press against the wall. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, I had the other one anchored to the wall. If that baby shakes your stand, you shake him right back, Keaton. Thank you, Get Up King. Blank State, there should be a horse sound drop every time Netanyahu's name is mentioned, like Frau Blucher. Neighing intensifies. Thank you. Appreciate that. Kevin, slight correction. Sex and the City 2 took place in Abu Dhabi, not Dubai, but filmed in Morocco. Here's some money for you.
Same shit.
Thank you. Here's some money for your error. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that very much. Okay, let me just clear those out 1 second so I don't lose my place here. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Perfect. All right, we're going to move right on along here. All right, so this segment is kind of a screwball comedy segment here. This is like that movie. What's that movie? The Death of Stalin. You know, there's the one director.
Yeah.
Forget his name. Satirizes kind of a Veep like parody of, you know, people in high places just not able to get their stuff together. So let's go to the Megyn Kelly show here. Here's a guy who I haven't seen in a long time. This guy used to be very clean cut. I don't know. He must have started living hard. Here's Charles Cook, who I believe used to write for the National Review. Oh, he still does. National Review's Charles Cook on President Trump's attack against Iran. So Megyn Kelly has been hosting some dissenters on her show recently. And here's a quasi-dissenter. Here he is saying, hey, you know what? Be nice if we could get some clarity of messaging from the government as to what this war is exactly for.
Objectives of this seem to be all over the place. Trump has said over and over again a whole bunch of different things. He's been quite prolix on the phone with various journalists, but each time he's changed the reasoning. Now, all of those reasonings are good. All right, they are that the Iranian theocracy is a dictatorship. It is. That Iran is effectively at war with the United States and has targeted us for 45 years and killed our people and paid other people to kill our people. It has. And that Iran is trying to destabilize the Middle East, including what it wants to do ultimately, which is nuke Israel. That's also true. But it would be good, I think, if we had one coherent message as to what it is that we're doing here. So I worry, first off, that we don't, and I worry that the public hasn't been prepared for this, which is going to lead to, and in fact already has led to, deaths. But that doesn't mean that I'm against it.
No.
I don't know is the honest answer.
There's Douglas Murray's cousin with the 50-day chip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got this guy complaining that there's not a coherent message. Here he says, well, I mean, there's every reason to go to war with Iran, but we don't know what it is. Don't get me wrong. I still support it.
I don't know how this is going
that's
to
fine.
end. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this is going to end. And I really would have liked a sustained debate in Congress or otherwise, so that I could have heard lots of different people making the case as to whether it was a good or bad idea, what the risks were, what the risks of not going in were.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd have come down on the right side of that if you only heard a reason to debate over it. So that kind of sets up what we're in for here. So let's see if this explanation, clears things up for you. Here is Pete Hegseth talking about how you can't have a nuclear bomb. We took it away, but then even after that, they didn't have it, and they didn't come to the table with a willingness to give it away.
A nuclear bomb. Radical Islamists can't have a nuclear bomb that they wield against the world. He gave them every single opportunity. Then we precisely took it away. And even then, after that, they didn't have that. They didn't come to the table with a willingness to give it away.
Yeah, so we attacked Iran because after we took away their nuclear weapons, they wouldn't give us their nuclear weapons.
That's the Jessica Burbank show, satirizing that. But hey, here's Max Boot. Here's neocon of all neocons saying this is a war in search of justification. He's not sold.
Like a war in search of a justification, Abby, because remember, the reason why the march to war actually started was because of the Iranian protests in early January that were brutally and bloodily put down by the Iranian regime. Trump was writing on social media, help is on the way, come out, overthrow your government. He didn't help them. The protesters got slaughtered. And then gradually it took a month or two to build up U.S. forces in the region. And that time, the rationale for the war shifted again from helping the protesters to doing something about the Iranian nuclear program. But the problem is the two justifications that the administration put forward, neither one of those constituted an imminent threat because we know that Iran was not enriching uranium. They basically stopped since the June attack when, remember, Trump said he had totally obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. He had certainly set it back a good deal. And there was no evidence that the Iranians were building missiles, ICBMs, capable of hitting the United States. And so now they're really grasping for straws. And so you had Secretary Rubio come up with this far-fetched explanation that the imminent threat was Israel was going to attack.
Well, that wasn't the far-fetched explanation. That was the true explanation. And the reason that was the true explanation is because precisely what you just said before, that no other explanation makes sense. But what Cook said in the Megyn Kelly segment was that they've killed thousands of Americans. So here's Anna Paulina Luna, who's going to clear this up for us, because maybe this is justification for the war. So let's hear her explain what they mean by they killed thousands of Americans.
Can you just tell me really quickly, where have they killed thousands of Americans in America?
I didn't say they killed thousands of Americans in America. I said that they have been responsible for thousands of Americans being killed. And I think that that's easily something that you can verify. I don't know, state-sponsored terrorism for starters. Are you serious right now about that whole thing? I'm not going to list out exact specific locations. They've literally been responsible for sponsored terrorism.
Are you talking about the Iraq war where the U.S. invaded Iraq?
You can start out by the three that they just killed. Okay, the whole point of your network, if you want to actually talk about the facts here, I'm giving you the facts.
After the war started, you're going to count. Look here, let's start with the three that they killed after the war started.
Okay, the whole point of your network, if you want to actually talk about the facts here, I'm giving you the facts. But I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about something that's commonly accepted and known.
Congresswoman, you don't have a good understanding of the conflict.
Well, I'm the one that's getting the briefings, not you. You're a pundit offering your opinion.
Well, you think you do a little better job than this if you're getting the briefings, no?
Because you want clickbait, but aren't actually interested in the substance.
No, not at all.
We can talk about the fact that Obama sent millions upon millions of dollars to the Iranian regime, or do you not want to address that because it's not supported by your opinion and your network?
No, not at all.
Is this really even something that we're going to actually get to substance, or are you going to continue to attack this?
No, it seems like you just want to fill up.
No, it seems like he's trying to get to the substance. I mean, you're making a claim that they've killed thousands of Americans and that it's in our defensive interest to do this, and he asked you for an example, and you can't give any.
Buster, it seems like you don't really want to have a good faith conversation.
Or you just don't like what I'm saying.
No, we would have invited you on the air.
This happens every time I'm on with you.
Yeah, you keep coming on every time, and you keep stating a lot of things that are incorrect.
Because
The United States launched an attack on Iran.
About it, except for you.
The United States.
This isn't even incorrect. This is you are not answering the most simple of questions.
It's launched a war against Iran right now. Iran retaliated, in which American members.
Strikes.
You can call it whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, the Iranians responded and killed 3 American service members. So what we're trying to get at is you make an assertion on this air that it's not an invasion when America sends fighter jets and Israel sends fighter jets into another country.
Boots on the ground are not going to happen. Congress will not vote on war with Iran because that is not something that we support, and that is not something that the administration supports.
That's actually what the Constitution says that in Article 1, but I guess you think Article 2 is more important.
Article
so it's up
2
to you.
is when the U.S. citizens and our military are in direct imminent threat, the president reserves the authority.
Yeah, well, he hasn't made that case to the American public,
right.
Congress, and that's the problem, and that's why he's supposed to go to Congress.
He's not going to give you classified intelligence information.
He's not supposed to give it to me. He's supposed to give it to members of Congress. He's supposed to go give it to members of Congress. That's exactly why members of Congress. You're only one. There are 435 members.
I haven't gotten it. Oh, yeah. No, you're really a trustworthy source at this point. Wow. What a joke. What a joke. But hey, as of this question, how long is this going to last? Will there be boots on the ground? All right. Given the sort of lack of clarity about the rationale for the mission, here's J.D. Vance putting our minds at ease that this isn't going to be a repeat of Iraq or Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, 20 years of mission creep. If you think back to Afghanistan, 20 years of mission creep, 20 years of not having a clear objective, and 20 years of the United States trying to bring liberal democracy to Afghanistan. Iraq was a little bit shorter, but we were still in that country for nearly a decade with no clear mission, no clear definition. What's so different about this, Jesse, is that the president has clearly defined what he wants to accomplish. And there's just no way, I said this before the conflict started, I'll repeat it again, there's just no way that Donald Trump is going to allow this country to get into a multi-year conflict with no clear end in sight and no clear objective. What is different about President Trump, and it's frankly different about both Republicans and Democrats of the past, is that he's not going to let his country go to war unless there's a clearly defined objective. He's defined that objective as Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon and has to commit long term to never trying to rebuild their nuclear capability. It's pretty clear. It's pretty simple. And I think that means that we're not going to get into the problems that we've had with Iraq and Afghanistan.
Okay, so far, nothing about this seems clear or simple, especially when you put this in here. This contradicts what Anna Paulina Luna just said. Trump won't rule out sending U.S. troops into Iran if necessary. Tells the Post, war is progressing way ahead of schedule. Way ahead of schedule. So here is Pete Hegseth being asked that same press conference, hey, what about this boots on the ground question? Let's see if we get any answers on that.
Currently any American boots on the ground in Iran?
No, but we're not going to go into the exercise of what we will or will not do. I think it's one of those fallacies for a long time that this department or presidents or others should tell the American people, this and our enemies, by the way, here's exactly what we'll do. Here's exactly how long we'll go. Here's exactly how far we'll go. Here's what we're willing to do and not do. It's foolishness.
Foolishness.
And so President Trump ensures that our enemies understand we'll go as far as we need to go to advance American interests. But we're not dumb about it. You don't have to roll 200,000 people in there and stay for 20 years. We've proven that you can achieve objectives that advance American interests without being foolish about it. Now, will we be bold about it? Are we willing to be decisive about it? Do we put months and months of planning into what kind of effects we want to achieve? Absolutely. But going forward, why in the world would we tell you, the enemy, anybody, what we will or will not do in pursuit of an objective? We fight to win. We fight to achieve the objectives the President of the United States has laid out, and we will do so unapologetically. Thank you.
Are we any closer to understanding any of this? I'm not. It's unbelievable. Clip after clip after clip.
Everything about him screams, I'm weak, and I'm shaky, and I need a drink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, well, here's Trump saying, hey, the war with Iran could go much longer than 4 or 5 weeks. All right, so here, let's see, more uncertainty.
From the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, the president wants to do it really quickly. After that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think you'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So here we go. Let's see. Hegseth, again, asked for clarification.
About 4 weeks. It's the typical NBC sort of gotcha type question.
Oh, it's a gotcha question. So will we be at war more than 4 weeks, as the president just hinted? That's a gotcha question.
I heard the question about 4 weeks. It's the typical NBC sort of gotcha type question.
Yeah, it's a gotcha
President Trump
question,
has
yeah.
all the latitude in the world to talk
Bad
about
faith
how long
question.
it may or may not take. 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 6 weeks. It could move up. It could move back.
How long are our troops going to have to risk death for a foreign country, for Israel? It's a gotcha question. Get out of here with that.
We're going to execute at his command the objectives we've set out to achieve. And what he has shown an ability to do that other presidents can't quite seem to have the aperture to do, well, I mean, Joe Biden didn't even know what he was doing, is to look for opportunities and off-ramps and escalations for the United States that creates new opportunities to execute what we need on our own timeline. So you can play games about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. He has all the latitude, and I'm glad he does, because there's no better communicator than our president expressing those things.
No, there's no better communicator than our president. That's why we've now, I think, watched 8 videos. I don't think we're any closer to understanding what the mission is or how long it's going to last. Once again, folks, if you're too young to have lived through Iraq, this is identical. I mean, one of the quotes leading up to Iraq was, it'll take 6 days, 6 weeks, maybe 6 months.
Yep.
Cut to, years and years and years with no way out.
I've been in meetings with the president for the last 2.5 days. We know exactly where his headspace is, and he will communicate, as he should, exactly what he would like, and we will follow those orders. And I think everything he said on that is right down the middle.
All right, right down the middle.
It's just such a parody. It's
it's a parody. No,
like the idea that you would have this maybe dry drunk, not necessarily, given the great sideburn shaving caper of last year. The idea that you would grab this guy off TV. He has no qualifications for this job, and he's clearly temperamentally not suited to do this job. Like, the whole time he was doing that, I was ready for the Chappelle punchline where he knocks over the water and runs.
Yeah, where he runs out.
Well, it could be 3 days, it could be 6 days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, it's literally a screwball
Amazing.
comedy. It really is just a screwball comedy. Here's Mark Wayne Mullen, senator from Oklahoma. He won't even commit to saying whether we're at war or not. He's insisting, no, this isn't even an actual war at this point.
Gave them an opportunity
Is this not a war of
to
choice?
work, and it didn't.
Is this not a war of choice? The president ran, and did the president not run on not starting a war with Iran?
He ran on 2 things: ending wars. He's ended 8 of them, and he also
He
ran on
started this
keeping
one.
America safe. This isn't a war.
Oh.
We haven't declared war. Everybody
Wait, hold on,
wants to
hold
say
on. I
we're
want
at
to
war
play
with
the
Iraq.
Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War, said today this is a war. Let's watch.
We set the terms of this war from start to finish. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
Is it really not a war?
What he declared on us was war, meaning us as Ayatollah. He declared war on us. We are not at war with the Iranian people. The Ayatollah who declared war on us, we've already taken him out. Now we're eliminating the threat. The Iranian people, we want to see them take back the country that the Ayatollah has been raping and pillaging them or from them for 47 years. So we're not at war with Iran. We're making sure that they do not have the capability to harm us anymore. They have killed thousands and injured thousands around the world, American citizens and military personnel, for 47 years. And
So then why didn't we go to war with them over the past 47 years then? Why not? Why
one
now?
single president has had the backbone to do anything about it until President Trump, and thank God we have done something about it.
Even though he ran against doing something about it 3 times.
Yeah.
Even though he ran against regime
Emphatically.
change war for 3 times. Now, after 47 years and 3 campaigns where you promised not to do this, now he finally has the backbone to do this. They're just in shambles. They're just in shambles. And I'm not the only one who noticed it. Apparently, CNN put together a montage showing just how clownish and how all over the place and how in shambles the entire government is in trying to sell this war.
Have casualties. That often happens in war.
I don't know if this is technically a war. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
This isn't a war. We haven't declared war.
The Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War, said today this is a war.
We set the terms of this war from start to finish.
Nobody should classify this as war. It is combat operations.
War is hell and always will be.
Strategic strikes are not war.
Wow. So we end the segment where we began it, folks. Does anybody know what the mission is, what the justification is, how long it's going to last, how many casualties we can expect? These are kind of basic questions you'd at least like to have some sort of awareness of before you start one of these things. And as you can see, it's just a clown show from top to bottom. It goes beyond the White House. I mean, everyone who is in a position of having to answer for this right now just looks like absolute clowns. And to the previous segment where we showed Mark Warner saying we're in uncharted territory if Israel is dragging us to war, you know, the Democrats have an out here because they're not the Republican Party, so they don't feel like they have to justify this. They can sort of hide and work behind the scenes to delay the war powers resolution vote and stuff like that. And they can concern troll about process, or they could just come out against it, which some of them have done, to be fair. But everyone whose political fortune is tied to this administration, i.e. all of these Republicans, whether they're in the cabinet or just in Congress or the Senate, they're completely lost here. I mean, they have absolutely no idea what to say, obviously. They can't get anything straight amongst themselves. They're coming out saying different things. It is just an absolute clown car, an absolute clown show from top to bottom. It really is a screwball comedy. This is like Burn After Reading, like a Coen Brothers comedy about an administration leading the country into war for reasons that they have absolutely no idea how to communicate to people. And the reason they have no idea how to communicate the rationale behind this to people is because, and we covered this in a separate segment if you're watching this in the clip version, Marco Rubio said it. He said it. And that's why that went as viral as it did. We did this because Israel let us into it. That's the truth. But nobody can come out and say that. Nobody can come out and say that. So instead, they have to do what we just saw here, which is just make a complete ass of themselves, every single one of them.
The Epstein files, I think, has undermined the legitimacy of elites more than it has ever been in my lifetime. And now you have these same people who are largely featured in the Epstein files or aiding and abetting the cover-up of the Epstein files, starting what could very well be World War III, the consequences of which have not begun to be felt yet. Wait until those oil prices start to reflect the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is closed. That's going to affect everything. That's going to affect flights. That's going to affect home heating, obviously, gas in your car. So many people are living right at the edge, particularly in America, which has no meaningful social safety net already. That's going to be hitting at the same exact time that a lot of people can no longer afford health insurance because they cut the subsidies. You got people's health insurance going up 4 times. Like, how does this end? Like, you're not voting your way out of it. So what do people do? I think at this point, I don't know if you could say it's a majority, although it might be if you really asked people the question, if you really polled people on this. People realize that the whole democracy thing is a lie, that no matter who you vote for, you get John McCain, right? Like, I think at this point, people realize that. I think more people than ever before understand that the Democrats, even if you vote them in, Yeah, I don't think you'll have ICE shooting VA nurses in the streets with the Democrats. I also don't think they'll dismantle ICE. I mean, they emphatically are making it quite clear that they will not. I don't think they'll shut down any facility that's already active. So it's the ratchet effect. Like with either one of these, you're just going to keep moving further and further into crazy town. When Democrats get in, they tend to just kind of stop it from getting worse, but they don't actually undo the damage like that. That's the best that's on offer. How long are people willing to live within a system like that? This administration is so arrogant and so heedless of what the public thinks. They're so heedless of public opinion. They've ripped the mask off in a way it's never been ripped off before. They're not even really meaningfully trying to build consensus. And that's why you would get a series of clips like that where there's no message because they didn't even bother. They didn't even bother to really coordinate what the message is supposed to be. You can't have message discipline when you have no message. How long will the American public accept the idea that they're being governed by completely unaccountable criminals? How long will the Democrat, Republican shit kick? How long is that going to work? Because, I mean, obviously there's a generational element there. But I remember the Hillbots well. I jousted with them often. That's a dying breed, man. Like literally and figuratively. How many people like that do you see now? Like how many people do you see even sharing memes of a Democrat who said something really awesome about Trump? Like how many people you see like that anymore? Just like with MAGA, you're down to the absolute bottom of the barrel of people who really desperately need politics as a substitute for a healthy emotional life, as something to focus on and give them an illusion of meaning. You're really down to the people who just treat politics as their emotional heroin on both sides. That's not most people. Most people have other things to do, and they want politics to actually meaningfully fix their lives. All those people have walked away, man. They've all walked away. It's just incredible watching these strutting asses running around, conducting themselves this way with just the assumption there will be no consequences. Like they're just humiliating the population. They're rubbing your face in how little power you actually have over what they do. I mean, to do this, which was a big red line across the ideological spectrum, to do this. You want to talk about a humiliation ritual? This is a humiliation ritual for the American public. What do they do about it?
Well, I mean, I don't want to step on the next segment. We're going to get into some of the numbers on this, but you saw right before we went on air. Now they're coming out now. Now the administration is saying, "Well, this isn't a war. This is a combat operation." I think Trump did this thinking he'd be able to wiggle out of it, and I don't think he realized just what he got himself into. And I think that they may have to pull back. They may have to figure out some sort of exit strategy because it's just not viable. They're not getting any support. I mean, you're looking at Sean Hannity. That's about it. I mean, that's about it. Even Benny Johnson is not there. Jack Posobiec, Steve Bannon, none of these people are there. It's just not a politically survivable thing. We're going to get more into this in the next segment, but I think what we said in the Bibi segment was true. You needed a president in the Epstein files. I don't think Kamala would have done this. I don't think anybody else would have. I think that's why Trump was the deep state's pick in 2024. Where people told this to us. I mean, Pasta said it to us. He says that I think Trump's going to win because I think the deep state thinks they need Trump.
Right.
That could very well be the case. Like you needed someone this compromised in the first place and this unsaddled by having to run for a second term because this is Trump's second term. Like you needed both those combinations to pull this off. Right. And I think that's true. I think that's true. You needed someone who just had absolutely zero choice in the matter, but to let Israel drag us to war. And I think the Israelis realized they had that in Trump. I think that's why they threw all this money at him. I think he's the only person who would have done this. I think it would have been bad under Kamala. Obviously, you would have had a continuation of the genocide under Kamala. I don't think another president would have, because you're seeing, and like I said, I don't want to step on the next segment, so I'll shut up in a minute. You're just seeing how unpopular it is and how damaging it is. That's why these Republicans are in shambles. They don't know what to say because they have to get voted in again. They're not lame ducks. They're not Donald Trump, an 80-year-old man in his second term who just gets to play golf after this in a couple of years, no matter how it goes. Like, it's so damaging for reasons that have been building up for so long that, yeah, man, like, I think they needed Donald Trump for this. I don't think another president would have done this from either party because there's too big a political price to pay. The polling is starting out at 27%. It's going to go lower. It's going to go much lower, I think. That 27% number was before any Americans were killed.
Donald, you remember that night with Bill? We have the tapes, Donald. We know you blew Bubba.
Yeah.
No, sure, man. There's nobody who was really on the table that I think would have started a war with Iran because everybody else has understood how catastrophic
too damaging
that could be because it's a regional war now, and that is going to have impact everywhere, including where I am now, man. The main customer for oil going through the Strait of Hormuz is Asia.
Well, yeah.
Thailand is one of the biggest importers of that oil. China, although China has planned for this, they built up enough reserves that they can hold out for a while. But yeah, man, like a lot of this could cause a lot of civil unrest and societal collapse.
Well, that's the
depending
thing.
on how long this goes and how far it goes.
Yeah, it's too politically destabilizing for everyone who would do it, except for Donald Trump, who's in his second term.
How are they going to stop it now?
And Israel has him just by the balls. Like they needed him to make this happen. I think that's true, and they got him.
Yeah.
They got him, and they got all the people who thought they were voting against it to vote for it.
Yep.
How do you like that? Like that? All right, take some super chats.
All right. Darren Alevi, any view on Zhang Zhuqin predictions? Man, I saw he's been dropping videos. I have not had any time to watch them because I've been working on the show. But I do like his stuff, and I will check it out. Kawaii Cowboy, I was calling the U.S. Great Satan before it was cool. Good for you. Tesla G, hello, Russ. What was socialist Laos like? I mean, Laos is the poorest of the three countries I've been to so far. And like you can see that when you go there by comparison. I actually liked Vang Vieng better because it leans more into what Laos has to offer that's unique to Laos. It has a beautiful natural landscape. So like that particular city, if you want to call it a city, it's more of like countryside, is really known for adventure sports. Like they've really built a tourism industry there on like paragliding and that kind of thing. That's where I did the hot air balloon. Luang Prabang, it's like it's really built around an old French colony that's full of old French people. So I can't say I was crazy about that part. It was not my favorite of the three countries I've been to. Let's put it that way. Like there were good things about it. I thought Vang Vieng was a lot better than Luang Prabang. Jessica Burbank rules from Mark Pugliese. Matt Boyer, do you think Cuba is next? I mean, that's some of the reporting. I'm starting to find these predictions of imminent Western collapse to be hopelessly naive. I don't know, man. It always looks that way until it goes that way. This is not sustainable. Yeah, I think we're one stock market crash away from total chaos. I think we're right at the edge. I don't think the system can take many more shocks. And if there's anything history has shown us, shocks will always come. P. Walker, cue the Benny Hill music. Yeah,
exactly. I thought of that same. I thought the same thing with that last segment. Yeah,
especially with Hegseth, because he looks like a Hollywood actor, and the way that he speaks sounds like a comic actor delivering his lines. Like he plays like a good comedy actor cast in something like Veep, doing a satire of a guy like Pete Hegseth being Secretary of War. Like it seems like a great comic performance. The terrifying part is it's real. Interrobang 5000 plan. That's one of those unknown unknowns. Yeah. Little callback
That's right.
to Satan, Donald Rumsfeld. Untouchables. What does Bernie Sanders have to say? I saw DropSite sent out, I think it was DropSite, sent out a reporter to interview Congress people in the hallway. And I think he said, Israel should not be dictating American foreign policy. Well, a little late for that, Bernie. Zamet, 1969. Success has 1,000 fathers. Failure is an orphan. Guess what this is going to be? It's looking that way. I had an overview piece that was just going to be too long for tonight. I'll hold it for Thursday and, tweak it based on developments. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are doing some interesting analysis of what Iran's tactics are and the vulnerabilities of the U.S. relative to those tactics. I could see those theses being right, especially given the Iraq war, which was supposed to be over in a week, right? I could also see the United States emptying its arsenal into Iran to the point that it just overwhelms them. I could see it going either way. We will see. Matt from Wisconsin, Alex Jones is claiming the attack on the girl school around the states, and the parents are all lying. Yeah, that's kind of his go-to, right? The Iranians can't sue me, right? They can't sue me from Iran. Brad, they'll let enemies of the United States sue citizens, right? Brad Gilbert, told you never trust polls. They are perception management. See elections, not elections. Elections are just marketing by those that select for us. Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. All right.
All right. So Vicious, there has to be a photo of Netanyahu using Trump as an ottoman somewhere. Sean Hannity, please stop, Mr. Netanyahu. I can only get so erect. Any more of your charm and great leadership, I might burst a blood vessel. Thank you, EO Shush. T-Bone, Russ is on the nose. The source of evil here is greed and racism. You're the man, Keaton. Thank you, T-Bone. Stoop sign, Bibi is a madman. Putin is a jazz man. That's right. Kinky 2, reading about the Ides of March. Julius Caesar sounds a lot like Trump, in my humble opinion. Thank you. All right, I got to copy the rest of these over, but we skipped your segment. We skipped Europe. We were supposed to do that before this last one, so let's do that now.
I thought you decided to rearrange it because you saw me loading my videos in.
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. All right, so go ahead. Start. I'll be right back. You could start without me. I just got to turn my camera on a second.
Okay. All right. So the Europeans covering themselves in glory as they have been doing lately. So here's Mark Rutte calling Trump daddy a few months ago. This was back in June.
Kids in the schoolyard, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language to
you have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
I think you have to join the other senators.
Yes, we're going to join some other group. Yes, thank you. Katie,
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Like, we have kind of pulled back on talking about people being closeted because we felt like people were taking it the wrong way, as if we were, saying there was something wrong with having a certain sexual orientation, which we certainly don't believe. But we do think there's something wrong with being closeted and, projecting kind of a caricature of hyper masculine values to cover up the fact that you're gay. I don't know what it is with all these men calling Trump daddy, but it seems to come up a lot. Daddy's home and he has needs, from Jesse Waters. And Mark Rutte, head of NATO here, calling Trump daddy. I don't know, man. I honestly, as a straight man, it would never occur to me to call another man daddy. So, it's kind of hard not to interrogate the psychosexual element of all of these men calling Trump their daddy. But speaking of scum, Eric Doherty, he's still on board. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte just stunned the Democrats, coming out in 100% support of President Trump's Iran triumph. Wow, that's the bottom of the barrel right there. Eric Doherty is, if you sent out a search party looking for the bottom of the barrel, they'd find Eric Doherty living there. So here's Mark Rutte on Fox, shocking the Democrats.
The service members, the U.S. service members who made the ultimate sacrifice over the last couple of days. And let me also say that the commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world, President Donald J. Trump, I really commend what is happening here. Taking out Khamenei, taking out the nuclear capability in Iran, but also taking out the ballistic missile program in Iran. This is crucial. And what I see in Europe, I spoke with all the key European leaders over the weekend, is widespread support for what the president is doing, and also making sure that when it comes to logistics, access, defending key U.S. interests in Europe and in the region, the Europeans are really stepping up.
All right. So this is the core critique that a lot of our communist friends have of social democrats. They've made this argument for a long time, of sometimes on our very show. The Europeans, especially if you're on the left in America, where we have duct tape for our health care, we tend to think of the Europeans as being more enlightened because they have things we don't have. They have health care, they have education, they have child care. But in the end, they are fine with degrading, abusing, and exploiting people around the world, as they always have. They never really reformed. These are still the Europeans that brought horror, death, and misery to people on every continent. They haven't changed. But within their borders, they extend a broader class of society a certain minimum level of dignity and support. But they never changed their basic attitudes about where they can get the wealth to allow them to do that for their populations from, as we're seeing very clearly during this second Trump administration. It's really been not only mask off for America, it's very mask off for Europe as well. So here's German Chancellor Merz calling on Iran to stop its unjust attacks, so that some might call defensive.
Eskalation, die harten iranischen Gegenschläge die Region noch ziehen werden. Die Sorgen unserer Partner in Iran.
Hang on. I forgot I'm the only one here who speaks German. I'm kidding. We do not know how far the region will be drawn into escalation by Iran's harsh counterattacks. We take the concerns of our partners in Iran's immediate neighborhood in the Gulf and in Europe very seriously. We therefore call on Tehran to immediately cease these indiscriminate attacks. Like, how do you say something like that? How do you attack a country and then accuse it of unjust counterattacks? Like, how do you get there? How do you get there, man? You see, that's the thing. If you're not a white Westerner in good standing, you're not allowed to defend yourself. When you defend yourself, you're being a cuckoo crazy pants. You're being evil. You're evil. George Galloway, this has to be a parody, Jeff. Yeah. No, sadly not. Jason Hickel, France, Germany, and the UK have issued a statement condemning Iran's disproportionate response. I want to know what they think is a proportionate response when invaders assassinate your head of state and civilian leaders in an explicit campaign to destroy your government. Fight fair. Fight fair. Lay down and take it. Lay down and take it. We're going to Epstein you. You have to accept it. The leaders of France, Germany, and the United Kingdom are appalled by the indiscriminate and disproportionate missile attacks launched by Iran against countries in the region, including those who were not involved in initial U.S. and Israeli military operations. Iran's reckless attacks have targeted our close allies and are threatening our service personnel and our civilians across the region. We call on Iran to stop these reckless attacks immediately. You know, it's amazing. A lot of their rationale, it's nonsense, but a lot of their rationale for attacking Iran is lack of freedom. Which of these allies that you're talking about in the region is not an autocracy? Which one are you talking about? Now you talk about as if it's your business, the religious precepts of Islam as applied to women in Iran, a lot of which I understand has been greatly distorted. I haven't been, but I think a lot of that is propaganda. But hey, Saudi Arabia is one of these countries that got hit. Why aren't you speaking out against Saudi Arabia? All of these allies you're talking about, none of them have democracies. None of them. This democracy that you're supposedly going to gift to the Iranian people. Hey, maybe the Iranians attacking these countries will allow the people to rise up and assert a democracy. But you know what? They are rising up in Bahrain. They're cheering on the Iranian missiles. And you know what happened? The Saudis have sent in their military to prop up the hated Bahrain autocratic government. These are the allies that they're talking about. We will take steps to defend our interests and those of our allies in the region, potentially through enabling necessary and proportionate defensive action to destroy Iran's capability to fire missiles and drones at their source. We have agreed to work together with the U.S. and allies in the region on this matter. How dare you defend yourself? Raquel Ferdiz Vega, okay. The three Pinocchios of the Yankee and Zionist Geppetto. Yep. But hey, this shouldn't surprise anybody. You remember Marco Rubio gave probably, the most racist speech since Hitler was hanging out in beer halls in Munich, of all places, where they should know a thing or two about that. And what kind of a response did he get from the Europeans? Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Look at him. Ate it up. Ate it up with a spoon. Taking selfies there. Look at that. This is a speech. This is a speech in which Marco Rubio accused anti-colonial movements of being evil communist movements. Standing ovation, in which he implicitly, and you could argue explicitly, argued for the recolonization of the world and argued that these countries that fought off the Europeans for their freedom were evil for doing so. Standing ovation. So this shouldn't surprise anybody. So this was just breaking right before we went on.
Hand on a nuclear capability and on a ballistic missile capability, which is posing a threat not only to the region, the Middle East, including posing an existential threat to Israel, it is also posing a huge threat to us here in Europe. Degrading Iran's nuclear capability, degrading Iran's missile capability. The fact that Khamenei is now gone, we are all better off with him gone and with the nuclear and ballistic capability being beaten and degraded as it is as we speak.
Okay, so if you're a person living in the West, can you explain to me how Iran was a threat to you? Can you explain to me in what way Iran was degrading your quality of life? Of all the things you're afraid of, like, I don't know, getting sick and going bankrupt because you don't have any health care, does Iran rank very high on your list of fears? Do you go to bed afraid that Iranians are going to storm the beaches in Europe or the United States? This idea, I mean, it is really amazing because this propaganda is what they've deployed for forever, for decades and decades. But it just falls so flat now, hearing them trying to gin up this fear of Iran, like this is something we had to do to protect people. Absolutely ridiculous. Suleiman Ahmed. Breaking, France enters war and moves its carrier strike group to the Eastern Mediterranean. The Charles de Gaulle is leaving the Baltic and heading toward the fight. They're sending their most powerful warship to the region. Europe is entering this war. Mel, Bibi called Macron and said he was going to post Brigitte's dick pics if Macron tried to sit this one out. Good one, Mel. Power to the people. Germany, protecting and harboring war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, fled Israel as soon as he started the war. You know what? We actually have a bunker all set up for you. It's an old one, but it's comfortable. United Kingdom, joining the U.S. and Israel in their illegal war against Iran. France, moving naval ships toward Iran to help the U.S. and Israel bomb Iran. Spain, U.S. aircraft leave Spain after government says bases cannot be used for Iran attacks. Spain and Ireland, the based European countries. Spain has asked the U.S. to leave its bases, insisting the U.S. cannot use its bases to attack Iran. 15 planes have left, and the government says all military actions must follow international law. Here is Spain's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, talking about their position and how illegal this action is.
Muy peligrosa hacia
We are rushing headlong into an increasingly unstable, insecure, and belligerent world, and therefore one that is increasingly unjust for ordinary people. Yesterday, these fears were sadly confirmed once again. When two countries, the United States and Israel, unilaterally attacked Iran without consulting the international community. It is possible to be against a hateful regime, as Spanish society as a whole is against the Iranian regime, and at the same time be against an unjustified, dangerous military intervention that is outside international law. One must be against a war that was started without the authorization of the U.S. Congress or the United Nations Security Council, and as I said before, violates international law. And there is always room for a negotiated solution rather than being swept away by the devastation of weapons as the only possible outcome. Yeah, you know, it's pretty sad that he's thus far the only leader in Europe saying this. Seems kind of self-evident and obvious. Alan McLeod. Spain continues to provide more resistance to Trump's agenda than all Democrats combined. Yep. And it's not just the prime minister who's based in Spain. There's one of their members of the European Parliament, Irene Montero. They say Iran has nuclear weapons. Sounds like what they said about Iraq, but it is Israel that has nuclear weapons. The U.S. is the only country to ever drop a nuclear bomb. Today, Israel and the U.S. are the greatest threat to humanity. Wow. Yep. Just dropping some truth bombs there. But hey, this was just breaking right before we got on too. Trump vows to cut off all trade with Spain over lack of support on Iran attack. Let's take a look.
What does that mean?
Well, you have to ask Mark Rutte. He said not as part of NATO, but to be helpful to you in this.
Well, some of the European nations have been helpful and some haven't. And I'm, very surprised. Germany's been great. He's been terrific. Others have been very good, terrific. I think that the head of NATO, Mark, is fantastic. Okay, Mark Rutte. I think he's fantastic.
He has no gag reflex, that one.
Some of the European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it.
No,
and
they went to
Spain,
2.
Actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it, but we don't have to. But they were unfriendly, and so I told him we don't want to. Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership.
Great Spanish-speaking people,
They have. I don't speak the language. I've always liked flamenco. I like flamenco.
Yeah.
I like those Spanish dances. Yeah, man. We could just go in and use it. Who's going to stop us? It's pretty sad that it's just Spain. I haven't heard anything from Ireland yet. Usually it's Spain and Ireland take a stand in these situations. But just the arrogance of that, just the arrogance. Now, very often with these countries that deal with the United States with kid gloves, you get the sense it's literally at the end of a gun. But the Europeans in this second term, particularly after that Rubio speech, where they got the signal, oh, no, we're not going to leave you out. No. As long as you do what we tell you, you can plunder the world with us. They've been all smiles. They've been very happy to assist the Trump agenda, which is very revealing of who the European countries are and who they've always been. It's tragic that of that entire block, really, you only have Ireland and Spain that made a strong statement regarding Palestine. And right now, at least thus far, you only have Spain making a statement regarding Iran. Marco Rubio, with that speech, signaled we're going to return to colonialism, and we're not going to let these wokies make us feel bad about it. And at least the European leadership class, which, just like in America, I don't think reflects Europeans. I don't think the European people support this. But just like in America, the people who stand for office don't get there until they've already been compromised by the kinds of interests that support this. You don't really have a government that represents you. This is the question that plagues the West in these times. Your whole premise about your society has been revealed to be a sham. What are you going to do about it?
Well, it's interesting because when you look at Spain, yeah, they've made a strong statement here. But what Trump says there is true, and it reflects the fact that it's ultimately just a statement. It's just a sentiment. What would they do if we just flew in and used the air bases? What can they
And
do?
these guys would.
What can these European countries actually do? I mean, they are ultimately kind of powerless, right? You have Russia, you have China, you have the United States. In terms of military power, those are your big three. What, Ireland is going to do something? Spain is going to do something? How can they? Like, ultimately, they are in this sort of in between space, literally in between the East and the United States. But also, just like in terms of how they politically align, what can they do? I think they, if they turn against the United States, who do they ally with that gives them any real support? Well, we know Russia's off the table because of how Europe reacted to the Ukraine war, because of how Europe instigated the Ukraine war. China's probably off the table as well, since what does China want anything to do with allying with Europe, right? There's nothing in it for China. Like they are these sort of like powerless states that really can't do anything on their own. And even if they were to all band together, they're still fourth on the totem pole at the highest, at most. So it's one of these situations where what can they do besides make powerful statements? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Well, there was a moment there when Trump was signaling that they're going to get thrown overboard, where they were talking about how it was a mistake to become so dependent on the United States. That's all gone now. That's all gone. As long as they get to stay on board the great ship U.S. genocide, they're good with it. They're good with it. As long as they get some of the spoils.
Well, sure. I mean, for the most part, that's true. And where you have exceptions, what can they do? Like, what teeth do they really have? I don't know the answer to that. Doesn't seem like they have much. Doesn't seem like Spain could have it any other way if they wanted it, right? Like, what can they do as a state?
I think the economic entanglements are more important than the military. I think already we're going to know more in the next week or two about the limits of U.S. power, because there are some indications that Iran's strategy is basically make the U.S. run out of ammunition by using low-cost drones to force them to spend ammo shooting them down, and then they're going to use their more serious heavy weapons later when the U.S. stocks are depleted. And there are some indications of that. Trump put out a truth that included a little more truth than maybe intended, where he's basically saying, yeah, Sleepy Joe left us in a position and okay, so you're saying you're running out of ammunition. Remember, we've been giving a lot of our stocks to the Ukrainians for years.
Sure.
So in theory, going with your premise, if the Europeans really resisted on top of the United States' other commitments, does it really have the invincible military that people think it does? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Strong enough to beat Ireland still, I think. But to your point, though, I mean, and we'll talk about this many times in the future as well. I think to your point about waiting to see how it goes, you don't forget Trump has sought off ramps in the past, and ultimately he's so under the thumb of the Israelis that he just can't find one. But it would not surprise me if they try to find an off ramp within a few weeks.
Well, they already did,
because we're already
They already
seeing,
did. They already wanted to open.
Right. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. Like they may call this off a few weeks in if it looks like it is as politically devastating as it looks like it is, which we'll get to that in the next piece. But hey, while we're paused here, Want to tell you about one of our sponsors here, A Bard and a Guitar. This album here, Love Songs to My Favorite Politicians, is a follow-up to Dogmatics, which we also featured as a sponsored album on the show. It's a music comedy album inspired by the 2024 election, featuring Red versus Blue, a pop-punk jam that explores the two parties, the people who look to them for answers, the commentators who cheerlead for them, and the ones who are caught in the middle. Yeshua, a pop song that argues that Jesus was possibly a commie libertarian. One Asshole, Two Cheeks, a romantic ballad, a love letter to Trump and Obama. Naturally Born Killers, a jazzy track about baby killers. Not babies that kill, but killers of babies. Econ 101, a hip-hop verse about economics. And more. Love Songs for my favorite, Love Songs 2, pardon me, my favorite politician, is a new album by A Bard and a Guitar. It's now available on streaming. So wherever you get your music, look up A Bard and a Guitar, or you can find a Linktree type site which links to all of the different platforms at dudissidents.com/Bard. So please do check that out. Okay. All right. I got stuff copied over here. Let's see. What do we got over here? Mike, the Russian bot. Russ, the school did get hit in Ukraine by the Ukrainians. Day one, they hit that before the Russians. YouTube wouldn't let me do this as a super sticker. Monkey Rotary, breaks my heart to see all this shit going on. Vientikis, the war in search of a justification hits the nail on the head. It's like police anymore. They search your possessions for justification for pulling you over after pulling you over. Vientikis says, keep in mind, too, the police training stems from the IDF. I met one of the wackos that did the training. It's all connected. And notice I said wacko. Kevin G, will you guys have Jim Perlman on your show? Peter was great. By the way, Keaton, she wants you to get back to her about her question about modern monetary theory. She's been waiting a year. What, did she say that on her show? Did she say that on her show that she wants me to get back? I mean, maybe I'll go over there and talk about it. I'll go on their show. KD111, thanks for the $25 and a sigh. A $25 sigh. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hegseth, sound drop recommendation, Have a Drink on Me from AC/DC. Profanosaurus Rex, I believe the DUI hire, Pete, has been taking public speaking pointers from Kamala's team. Good one. Just asking my fellow Americans, when do we break out the guillotines? John M., Military Religious Freedom Foundation has logged over 100 complaints from troops who were told, as one example, that this war was all part of John's divine plan. God's divine plan.
Yeah.
Did I say John's divine plan? That's because it came from John.
You did.
It's funny. Vientikis Prime, what you're witnessing in the political fanatics is the animal husbandry of humanity practiced over centuries, propagating a blind obedience genome. This is why we had trust the science. Thank you, Vientikis. All right, got some super chats over there?
Sure do. Dendrobates. More bad news, fellas. The Dow is now below 50,000.
Oh, boy. Now it's gotten real. Now you can be upset about it again.
Glenn,
I guess we can talk about Epstein again.
Yeah, Glenn Fancher. Hey, Russ, have you tried the egg coffee? Of course I did. I went to the place that invented egg coffee. It's in Hanoi. It was good. It wasn't what I expected. Basically, what they do is they whip the egg so it becomes almost like a cream. It's almost like a whipped cream, what they do with the egg. It's very tasty. It's good. Dave, 1984. Kamala had same view on Iran as Trump, and her hubby is her Zionist handler. I don't see how you'd get a different outcome on Iran.
Because there would be political stakes for her, and she's not likely on tape diddling girls, tapes that are in possession of the Israelis. That's why. Well, you think she's the first? Well, you think Donald Trump is the first politician who's come around who's been for this? They're all for it. Ask most politicians in Washington, they're for it. Why is he the first one who did it? They say he's the first one who had the backbone to do it. No, it's the opposite. He's the first one who was compromised enough to actually do it.
In the end, self-preservation will usually make them not do it because they've all understood the political consequences are just going to be so damaging they can't do it. But when the option is, you with two junior high school girls being released on tape, well,
Exactly.
Now you'll do it.
Right. Why is he the first one to do it then? If they're all the
Right.
same and they would all do this, if you're telling me, well, any president would have done this, then why is he the first one to do it? Why is he? Because he's the first one who's compromised enough, and he doesn't have to run for a second term, so he doesn't care. You see how these people shit their pants on camera? What do you think? They want to do this? No, he's the guy they needed, and they got him, and they psyoped the country into voting for this guy, thinking they were voting against this, but they were actually voting for the one guy who would have actually done it.
Darshana Freechild, put gifts like the wood on the shelves behind you. Well, he explained that he doesn't want to kill his child. That's the thing. Keaton is pro-life. He's not pro killing babies. P. Walker.
I'm pro-life.
At least for his baby.
Yeah.
P. Walker, Rutt challenging Bondi for best Trump brown noser.
Yes, I'm explaining that. See, there you go. You nailed it. Keaton's explaining why Kamala would not have been able to win. This is what Pasta said. He said the deep state wants Trump. And I think he was right. Like, they needed him for this. They needed him for this. That's why Israel funded his 2016 campaign. Don't forget, folks, this was supposed to happen in Trump's second term. October 7th was going to be Trump's second term. That wasn't supposed to happen under Biden. That was supposed to happen under Trump's second term. Why did Israel put this guy in? We know they colluded with the Trump campaign to put him in 2016. We know that. That's a matter of record. Why do you think? So he could shred the Iran deal in the first term, and then in the second term, when he has nothing politically to lose anymore, he would have given them this. It happened a little behind schedule. Why? Why? Because Biden's a peace stick? No, because there's no other politician who's as compromised as Donald Trump who would actually go ahead and do this.
Yep. There is no other politician where they have videos of him with Bill Clinton's dick in his mouth. Nobody else. Barbara Malakova, thank you for the donation. All right, I'll do one more. Jolly Man Big Boy, does Keaton have any more Strait of Hormuz puns? I'm still recovering from the one last year.
Oh, yeah. What was that? What was that? I did have a Hormuz pun. Oh, I forget what it is. At the risk of sounding like an asshole, super chat us again. Give us $2 more to let us know what it was, because I forget what it was. I remember making it now that you mention it, but I forget what it was. All right, let's move on here. All right, folks. So the MAGA rift widens and it gets deeper. Here is a trailer from Megyn Kelly's interview with former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Has some not so kind words for Donald Trump in his new war.
Absolutely, America last. It's the same bullshit we've seen. What is happening to the man that I supported? The man that denounced what happened in Iraq?
The war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake.
No more regime change. Promise it on the campaign. A year in, and we're in another fucking war, and we've got American troops being killed. All I can think about is the military-industrial complex. Those guys are lighting up their cigars, drinking their whiskey, and patting each other on the back because all they can think about is how much money they're going to make off the American taxpayers, making bombs, building new aircraft, building new drones, and building all kinds of military equipment just to kill people all over the world. While the American people, all they want is to be able to fucking afford a house, afford health insurance, and be able to maybe live the dream like the baby boomers did. They literally are trying to start World War III. It's completely out of control. It will never end.
You know this idea, you break it, you own it? I don't buy that one bit.
And Lindsey Graham, I saw a video of him this morning.
That mothership of terrorism has a hole in it.
He was choking back tears, swallowing back tears.
Those weren't tears.
Because he was saying he was so proud of President Trump. He wasn't choking back tears for the American military members that have been killed and their families who are mourning their deaths right now. That's not MAGA. That is not MAGA. That's not America first. This isn't what we voted for. It's literally Israel first. Israel first, and then where is it going to stop?
Where's it going to stop? Good question. Well, here's Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly, let's see what she has to say. She can go either way. As we've seen, one minute the Epstein files are terrible. 1 minute, 15 is not really a PDF file, right? Right. So let's see. She's the swing vote within MAGA.
massive divisions over what we've done here, and people are going to change their minds over the coming days and weeks, one way or the other. But my own feeling is no one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. I think I understand how this helps Iran perfectly well. I get it. I mean, I hope. Long term, we'll see. But they seem rather jubilant. 80% of the country does not support the Ayatollah. He was a terrible, terrible man. No one's crying that he's dead. No normal person.
Very, very bad man.
But our government's job is not to look out for Iran or for Israel. It's to look out for us. And this feels very much to me like it is clearly Israel's war. Mark Levin wanted it. It's his war. Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, Miriam Adelson. That's obvious. They're the ones who've been pushing us into this.
The only ones who want this war are the Jews and the homosexuals. It seems obvious to me. That's what you say in there. That's if you read between the lines. So hey, we just played the trailer cut, but here's a more continued rant from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I thought this was too good not to show you uninterrupted.
York Post today that he doesn't care about the polling. He doesn't care about what the American people think, and he may put troops on the ground. He took this is going to be a few-day war, to now it's going to be maybe 4 weeks or more. I want to say, what is happening to the man that I supported, you supported, the man that denounced what happened in Iraq, the man that said no more foreign wars, no more regime change, promise it on the campaign. J.D. Vance promised it. Tulsi Gabbard promised it. All of them promised it. And we're a year in, and we're in another fucking war, and we've got American troops being killed. I think it's time for America to rip the Band-Aid off, and we need to have a serious conversation about what the fuck is happening to this country and who in the hell are these decisions being made for, and who is making these decisions.
Wow. So we know Tucker called this disgusting and evil. He gave that quote to Jonathan Karl, who's a Washington sort of beat reporter. But he put out a full episode on Iran. I believe it was last night. Here's a clip from that where he goes as directly as he is allowed to, I guess, against Donald Trump.
States has to get Bibi under control. Sorry, it's not anti-Semitism. This is a head of state whose decisions are getting Americans killed and affecting the history of the world and the fortunes, but also the future of the United States. The United States has to say to the government of Israel, you are not in charge. And no president since John F. Kennedy has been willing to say that, but no administration has paid a higher cost for going along than the current administration. And it's tragic when you think about it. And of course, it's not simply the administration, president, and everyone who works for him. It's the country and the people who voted for this president in the hope that he would improve their lives. And none of that will be possible if this continues. The fault, of course, is with anyone who went along with Bibi's demands or threats or whatever. But the root cause is Bibi and his ambitions. And so somebody immediately needs to say no.
Yeah, which we are empowered to do. But of course, they found the most compromised person they could, and they elevated him to the presidency. All right, so here's Rachel Bade, who has a publication, Substack publication, but she's another, I guess, Washington beat reporter. So she got an interview with Donald Trump. And a phone call me just now. Donald Trump hit back at MAGA world critics of his Iran gambit, including Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson. Kelly ought to study her history book a little bit, he said when asked the criticism on her show today. Tucker's criticism has no impact on me. And MAGA, POTUS told me, is with him. I think that MAGA is Trump. MAGA is not the other two, Trump said, referring to Kelly and Carlson. MAGA wants to see our country thrive and be safe. And MAGA loves what I'm doing, every aspect of it. Well, I guess if Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin are now MAGA, then I guess you're right. I guess that's what's left of the MAGA movement. As for everybody else, just 1 in 4 Americans say they back U.S. strikes on Iran, Reuters Ipsos poll finds. So if you look at the cross sections of the poll here, only 55% of Republicans are saying that they're for it, with a large swath being unsure because they don't like having to tell daddy no. But 13% are opposed. Democrats, not much of a surprise there. Of course, you always look to the independents. Just 19% of independents are for it. Devastating numbers. Now, the people who say definitively no, that percentage should be way higher than 43%, but we suspect it will be. Don't forget, this poll was taken before any troops were killed. And if you look inside the numbers here, concern about harm to troops, while 55% of Republicans say they approved of the strikes and 13% disapproved, the Reuters Ipsos poll found 42% in Trump's party said they'd be less likely to support the Iran campaign if it leads to U.S. troops in the Middle East being killed or injured. Well, of course, that has since happened. Worry over fuel prices. Some 45% of poll respondents, including 34% of Republicans and 44% of independents, said they would be less likely to support the campaign against Iran if gas or oil prices increased in the United States, which, of course, they will. So that 27% number, that's really going to be the high point in terms of percentage of people who are for this. But Trump, of course, defiant. I don't care about polling showing Iran strikes unpopular. President Trump dismissed polls showing low approval among Americans for the U.S. military operation in Iran, saying public sentiment actually reflects otherwise. I think that the polling is very good, but I don't care about polling. I have to do the right thing. I have to do the right thing. This should have been done a long time ago, Trump said in an interview with New York Post published on Monday. It should have been done a long time ago. How many tweets have you seen? They're getting retweeted all the time from 2011, 2012, 2013. Obama's going to attack Iran. Obama's going to attack Iran because he's terrible. We know for a fact you were against this specifically and more broadly against regime change wars. We know that that was a linchpin of all three of your campaigns. So we know you're lying about this. So here's Dave Smith unleashes on the Trump administration.
Vance, fuck Marco Rubio, fuck JD Vance, fuck Marco Rubio, fuck Tulsi Gabbard. Donald Trump has made his bed. Like, this really is it. This game where there's Tucker Carlson and there's the majority of his base and there's Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly and, you know, whatever. Donald Trump chose Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham and Benjamin Netanyahu, the most discredited, evil laughingstocks on the planet. That's who he chose to go all in with. So he's made his bed. Let him sleep in it. I hope the Republicans lose the midterms this year. They need to. For the country, they need to be and no one from this administration can be supported in 28. Fuck JD Vance, fuck Marco Rubio, fuck Tulsi Gabbard. Fucking, she hasn't resigned yet? Fuck Tulsi Gabbard. Dude, the goddamn no war with Iran shirts that she was selling. How much money you make off those shirts, Tulsi? How can you not return that money?
Yeah, these are the shirts. This was Tulsi's tweet from January 7th, 2020. No war with Iran.
Wow.
And I screenshotted that. I said, everything in this pic sold out. Ha ha. That, what you just saw in Dave Smith's rant there, that is why I am of the opinion that Donald Trump is the only president compromised enough to actually pull the trigger on the Iran war because of just how politically devastating it is. This has been the war that most of the American public has now feared for the better part of the last 20 years. Since the American public soured on Iraq, this has been the one thing that has really united everyone in this country who is not either an ultra low information party line voter or a fanatical Zionist. In other words, anybody who pays any attention to anything who's not a fanatical Zionist is against this. And the political price for it is simply going to be too big a price for the in-party to play. There's Dave Smith, libertarian, voted for Trump last time, says not only should you not vote for the Republicans in the midterms, he says, I hope they lose the midterms. They have to lose the midterms. The point of that being they have to pay a political price for doing this, just as Kamala Harris needed to pay a political price for aiding and abetting genocide. This is the reaction that an action like this provokes in people. It is just going to be overwhelming to the point where any other politician, I think, would have pulled back just as Trump is trying to pull back now. They tried to weasel out of this. They said, well, we're trying to get a ceasefire. Now, if you look here, I shared a screen because this is all breaking kind of as we're on air here, as is going to be the case over the next few weeks. Obviously, news is going to move much faster than we can keep track of in our prep work. The White House just released the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury. This is not a war. It's a major combat operation. Their words, not mine. Here's what the U.S. is going after. Destruction
like
of missile
Vietnam
forces.
was a police action.
Exactly. Yeah. Eliminate the regime's terror proxies. Ensure Iran can never again obtain a nuclear weapon. Regime elimination, not regime change. Regime elimination. This is the other semantical game they're starting to play now. No, we're not doing regime change. We're not going to take a proactive role in the replacement government. We're just going to destroy this one and leave it up to the Iranian people who replaces them. So they're already trying to kind of weasel their way out of this. The problem that they're going to have, as Max Blumenthal said on Jimmy's show last night, is that Iran's not going to agree to a ceasefire at this point because they know the Israelis are going to come back. And the fact that the midterms are in 9 months, there's a real ticking clock here, because past that point, you know, this administration is going to be tied up in investigations and whatnot. They want to do this as quickly as possible, which it creates a very dangerous situation in the short term. But the hope is that it's just too politically damaging to go through with. I think there is a hope that they will find some kind of off-ramp. I think they're going to realize pretty quickly that they have no real choice. Unless they're prepared to declare martial law and cancel the midterms outright, this is not a politically survivable event for anyone down ballot. It's too damaging. It's too damaging. This is the one thing that couldn't happen, and they made it happen. And the fact that they've been looking for off-ramps, they're saying it's going to be a few weeks. We'll see. But I actually do have some hope that they may just have to call this off, because we're seeing just how politically catastrophic this is. It's the Epstein files times 100. This is the thing the public feared for the better part of the last 20 years. And they voted against it 3 times when they voted against Trump. You know, it's funny. I had a theory in my head when Hillary lost in 2016, despite being so heavily favored to win. I thought, you know what? It's quite possible that no one who supported the Iraq war will ever be elected president again. That's how damaging that was. And of course, we had this little lab accident happen where there became a global panic, and one of the Iraq war hawks was able to weasel his way in because of COVID, right? Because there was this global emergency that everyone was terrified of. And so they said, all right, bring the bureaucrats back in. It's better than Donald Trump. But Trump won again. And when you look at just how overwhelming public sentiment is in the wrong direction on this issue for this administration now, it is possible that they pull this back. And I maintain that, yeah, Donald Trump was the plan. He was the plan all along. This is like the Neo meets the architect scene at the end of The Matrix 2. The guy you thought was the one. No, the system saw him coming. The system saw him coming. The Israelis saw him coming. That's why they colluded with the Trump campaign in 2016. And it's why they were holding out for him to return in 2025. And here we are. But it just might not be sustainable. They may have no choice but to try and wiggle out of it, try and declare victory, and try and keep the Israelis as under control as they can, because you're just seeing here how unsustainable this is.
Yeah, and just like the Matrix sequel, this is awful.
And it's bad. Yes, it's like the Matrix sequel, both in terms of the plot and in terms of it sucks.
In terms of it sucks, and you just want it to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's this is something that really the neocons have been praying for since the Iraq war. They wanted to spill right over into Iran, but Iraq was such a disaster. They had, oh my God, when they went into Iraq, they had stars in their eyes. They were going to transform the whole Middle East. It was going to be KFCs as far as the eye could see by the time they were done. But given the way the Iraq thing went, that got off the table. But hey, Wesley Clark laid out that 7 countries, right?
Yep.
And Iran is the last one. It's the last one on that list that we didn't knock over. And you're right. Trump, on every level, they saw that they could not get the WEF agenda with Kamala. She was just too incompetent, too unpopular, too ham-handed, just no meaningful base of support. And the people who were resisting that agenda were all supporting Trump. He was the Trojan horse. With Trump, you neutralize them. And you've had some people, I showed that in a segment, who have pointed out that their whole plan to build all these prisons around the country looks a lot like the FEMA camp claims of a lot of people on the right, that they were going to create a detention network around the country for dissenters. Yeah, that shit, I mean, not in terms of the specifics of what they described, but in terms of what certain elements behind the government wanted, they were right. But they could never have had Kamala Harris come in and start building things like this, because the very people who support Trump, they would have gone berserk. They would have gone berserk. Like, they would have been armed, going into courthouses. It would have been civil war. If Kamala had tried to create a national Gestapo with its own detention facilities around the country, she could never have sold that. You needed Trump with his unabashed racism, putting it on. Yeah, no, we're just gonna beat up the brown one selling the churros. You don't like churros, right? Who eats a churro? Real Americans don't eat churros. Without that, you couldn't get these people behind it. We have said from the beginning, man, ICE was never about them. It was always about you. And this is another example of it. Yeah, they couldn't get this war with Kamala.
Nope. Couldn't get it with anybody. No other Republican would have given you this.
Yeah, no. Nobody with any political future.
Right.
And nobody who's not on tape sucking off Bill Clinton would have done this.
They got him by the balls. That's it.
No, at the end of the day, and that's what I told Jimmy, that if Trump got elected, and he brought that up a lot, I would have to reevaluate what I thought about the deep state or what I thought about Trump. It turns out I have to reevaluate what I thought about Trump. What I meant by that is like, well, either the deep state doesn't have the power we think it has, or Trump's not who he presents himself as. It's the latter. Yeah, man. Trump was the plan. He was not a defiance of the plan. He literally was the plan, and they got it. Look at what he's done. Look at what he's done. It's every David Icke, Alex Jones pre-lawsuit theory of what the cabal of elites that run the world wanted. Everything. He's checking off every box on the list.
Right. Well, it's fun. You mentioned Alex Jones. We had Rex Jones on the show a while back, and he made a very good point. He said, Trump is the only one who's extreme enough to actually realize the potential that the Patriot Act sort of put in writing, right? Because he's the only one who presents as willing enough to do it. And he is willing enough to do it. And these other politicians are too invested in the normalcy of the system. In other words, Kamala Harris would not consider declaring martial law, suspending midterms. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just wouldn't even think that's a possibility if it were anybody else but Trump. And most Republicans wouldn't think to do it either, because they're invested enough in the system. This is the Hedges dichotomy between the oligarchs and the corporatists. Corporatists, which are most of the government, vast majority of the government, they rely on stability in order to extract wealth from everybody else and funnel it up to them. The oligarchs are different. The oligarchs like instability. They like chaos, because the immiseration that comes with that leaves them in a position to simply exploit the masses the way the feudal lords would exploit the serfs and the peasants, right? So that's the difference. You needed a feudal lord. You needed Donald Trump to be able to be the guy who was like, you know what? Fuck the polls. Even if on day one we're at 27%, because day one is always the peak level of support for these things. The Iraq war started at 70%, and it was all downhill from there. Well, now you're starting at 27, and it's all downhill from there. What does Trump care? Nothing, because he's an old man. He's a lame duck. What the hell does he care? They almost certainly have compromising material on him, so that's an added incentive not to fuck with them, meaning the Israelis whose war this really is. He's the perfect guy. There's no other person who would have done this. There's no other, but you could say, oh, well, they're all the same. Well, then why didn't anybody do it? Why did it take Donald Trump to do it?
Nobody who could win who would have done it.
That's why. Right. Nobody who can win, obviously. Well, that's what I mean. Right. Nobody who
Lutnick would do it.
Right. Nobody who gets to actually make the decision, yes or no, would actually go ahead with this, because you're seeing how devastating this is. You're seeing, and that's why these down ballot Republicans are going on TV and they don't know what the fuck to say. Anna Paulina Luna's stumped. That Mark Wayne Mullen stumped. Even Lindsey Graham was stumped. Lindsey Graham's been wanting this war for basically his entire adult life. He's been wanting this war, and he is flummoxed. This is why it took Trump to do this, and the political consequences are unknown as of now. But I'm telling you, man, when you got Dave Smith saying the Republicans need to lose, essentially giving a tacit endorsement.
Well, Fuentes too.
Fuentes saying if you vote Democrat, because we simply cannot reward these people with more terms in office who are for this. This is how damaging this is. You got Nick Fuentes ready to put on a fucking pink pussy hat, and you got Dave Smith saying they deserve to lose. It's we are in uncharted territory.
And this is a guy who really doesn't like pussy.
Yeah. Yeah, right, exactly. So it is certainly uncharted territory. No doubt about that. All right. Let's go to some super chats. I'm going to get our patron scroll going while you start reading those, so you can go ahead.
All right, kibbles and bits. With this new war, it's like the dog days of summer, man. Yeah. Dave, 1984. Yeah, solid points about Trump on Iran. GG.
Yeah. Yep.
Afro Remus. Even if Trump U.S. wants out now, it's no longer up to Trump. On Sunday, Trump asked Italy to ask Iran. They said, hell no. Until Iran is satisfied, no stop. Yeah.
That's pretty much what Max was saying last night. I don't want to put words in his mouth because I didn't watch the whole interview, but the way he made it sound is like, yeah, Iran's not going to go for a ceasefire now because you've already signaled you're coming for
right.
him.
Yep. Yeah, they don't want to give them the opportunity to regroup.
Right.
They're kind of like, we're in it now, man. Virtuoso, just curious, do you have Meghan R. Kelly saying Nepalese cab drivers as a sound drop?
No, we don't.
No, we don't. Not yet. Blazg. Honestly, I think under Kamala, they would have waited till the end of her first term, then committed a false flag, then start a war. Maybe.
At the very least, they'd have had to wait for a second term. Because and even Kamala is she's too a part of the system. Like even past the point where Kamala Harris can't get reelected, right? Even in her second term, she's a lifelong politician. Her entire community are political people, right? She just wouldn't do her own party dirty like that. You need a guy like Trump who literally does not give a flying fuck about anyone but himself. He doesn't care if Anna Paulina Luna gets reelected. He doesn't give a shit about anything. That's what it took to make this happen.
Skyman, Lindsey Graham, today is the day that I have waited for. The dam is given way, and the desires of my dark lord shall be free upon the earth. I shall now ascend to a plane of unknown pleasures, where young schoolboys dance covered in sticky butter crumpet sauce on their fingers, just like in the days of my youth. Bring your Tigrinya. Read Tulsi Gabbard's name backwards for laughs. Drabag is sluts.
Slut. Yeah, Drabag is slut. Yeah. Good one. Wow,
Jolly
that takes
Man Big
thinking out.
Boy.
That's some outside the box thinking to notice that.
Yeah, never heard that. Jolly Man Big
Original
Boy.
thinking.
I've been studying the French Revolution. If Trump is Louis the 14th, then who is Marie Antoinette? I think you mean the 16th.
Lindsey Graham. Lindsey
Miriam
Graham.
Adelson or Lindsey Graham.
Funny. Good one.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, folks, if you like what we do and you want to help us do more of it, the best way to do so is to become a member. Patreon.com/do dissidents. You get your name up in lights here on the patron scroll. You also get call-in access to our weekly Q&As, ad-free versions of every live stream, bonus live stream content in the form of monthly post games, and, of course, our new revamped film club with Right Brain TV. We had our maiden film club voyage over the weekend. It was great. Land of Sorrows is the film. You can head over and watch it if you sign up for a membership. It's part of the patron queue. It's also on Substack and Locals, so it helps us out tremendously if you can pony up $5 a month, and those are the perks for doing so. We try to make it as worthwhile as we possibly can, so thank you all very much for your support. Okay, let's go to some Rumble rants over here. Oh, did I only copy over one? Oh, yeah, because that was my segment. That's right. So I'll copy over the rest. While Russ is doing his, Raven Lash, Trump famously mistook Spain for being a part of BRICS. I think it might be the opportune time now to actually join. Thank you, Raven Lash. Mr. Measy, they've got money for wars but can't feed the poor. And my real name, Viva España. Thank you, my real name. Appreciate that. All right, I'll copy over the rest of these, and we'll get to them after our next segment, which is the final segment of the afternoon.
All right, this is going to be a quick one. I just want to draw attention to how deeply racist the whole Zionist project is at its core, and it's to such an extent that even at a moment when they clearly want to put on their best, oh, poor us face, they can't help but show how deeply racist they actually are. Maybe towards no one more than their allies. So Modi has really, really been taking that uncircumcised cock. He's been running around really, really macking on Netanyahu. This was a week ago, more or less. Landed in Israel. I am extremely honored to be received by Prime Minister Netanyahu and Mrs. Netanyahu at the airport. I look forward to engaging in bilateral discussions and fruitful outcomes that strengthen the India-Israel friendship. Now, that friendship is really built around a hatred of Muslims and a desire to wipe them off the face of the earth. That's really what they bond on. Modi famously is really a Hindu nationalist who's been very abusive towards Muslims within India. So that's what they bond on, presumably. But hey, here's how they actually talk about people from India on TV in Israel. A second, because I had to load these in late. I didn't turn it down. Speaking of the instructions we are giving to the people of Israel right now, first siren, second siren. The other countries that were attacked throughout the Gulf, they don't have any. We'll soon see what happens. Some of them have no air defense at all, and some have air defense but not alerts. And just one more thing, the Israeli security systems in the coming years will be very, very busy selling weapon systems. Absolutely. Only we have no production lines. We do. In India, we took all of India. Listen, we need 1,400,000,000 people to manufacture for us for the entire world. So they see India as a colony where they can manufacture weapons. We took all of India. There's your ally that Modi is so eager to cozy up to. But hey, it's worse than that. Indians sleeping in subways after denied access to shelters in bunkers in Israel. This is very common during these airstrikes. They won't let the Thai workers, there are a lot of Thai workers in Israel, they won't let them into the bunkers. We've seen videos of them denying Thai workers access to the bunkers. I'm not sure if we ever did it as a segment. I think we did. Yeah, there are videos of Indians trying to get into bars in Israel, and they're told they're full and they're empty. They're very racist against these Indians that like them so much. Almost like if you were to pay $7,000 to become a Jew and you were an Indian, you got to be out of your mind. You'd have to be crazy. I showed this to our friend. I showed him those videos of them being blocked from the bars. Daniel McAdams. Meanwhile, Modi fillets Netanyahu. How embarrassing for India. Do they have no self-respect? Well, they elected this guy. Do the Israelis have any self-respect? They keep electing Netanyahu. But hey, you know who is allowed in the shelters? Dogs. While no one who's not an Israeli citizen or Jewish is allowed into shelters, dogs are being taken into shelters in Israel. A non-Israeli doesn't have the value of even a dog. The world needs to learn this reality. Now, so if you think this is bullshit, do you see any Indian people in there? You see any Thai people in there? No, you see Israelis and dogs. A lot of fucking white Europeans with a tan. That's what Israelis are. They're white Europeans with a tan, basically. But hey, what's a rave without a few dogs around, right? While American soldiers are being shipped back home in boxes, Israelis in Tel Aviv are having a party in bomb shelters. They're raising the roof. Yep. They bring in the dogs and then the party begins. And they break out the hidden cameras in case they need blackmail material on anyone later. But that's not all. That's not all. It's not just look, white people, this is probably going to upset you, but you know what? For Zionists, you're no better than an Indian. You're no better than they are. They don't like you any more than they like Indians or Thai people. While footage of an American plane falling to the ground in Kuwait is playing in the background, Israel's Channel 12 host, Niv Raskin, urgently notes we need to emphasize this is an incident involving American forces and not, heaven forbid, an incident involving Israeli forces. No shit. This is for real. We need to emphasize, friends, we need to emphasize this is an incident in Kuwait involving American forces and not, heaven forbid, an incident involving Israeli forces. Yeah, really said that watching an American plane go down. Don't worry, it's just the Americans. And Max displaying his great wit. Israeli media, everything's fine. It was just the toy slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your allies, man. That's your allies. They're not okay. I can tell you from the inside, from my experience, that yeah, like, is it worse to be non-white and non-Jewish? Yeah. But being white and not Jewish puts you in the same general category. You're a Gentile, right? You're Goy. You're a Goyim. And because that is so ingrained in their society, it comes out. It comes out. It's an incredible feat of propaganda they've been able to pull off, and now people are becoming aware of it. I've been making this point for years, which has made a lot of people deeply uncomfortable when I've made it. Like, I have never been around people as racist as very Zionist Jews ever. Growing up, I've said, I've mentioned this before. My grandmother used to say when me and my cousins were acting up, they're running around the house like Arabs.
Yep.
And yes, that extends to white people. My grandfather told my cousin he shouldn't have broken up a bar fight because the Goyim, you should let them kill each other. This is what they do. And ever since World War II, not to minimize the Holocaust, but they've used the Holocaust to obscure their own racism because they were such victims of racism, right? So nobody's going to look to them as racists. But deeply Zionist Jews are going to tend to be deeply racist because the whole premise of the project is racist. This is now people are becoming aware of it. When I used to talk about it, it would particularly make non-Jews very uncomfortable because they didn't want to be accused of being anti-Semitic. They didn't want to hear that. And to have like a Jew tell them, no, man, do you know how racist these people are? Like, it was very disconcerting for them to hear it. Now it's all coming out. Now it's all coming out in the open because Zionism and Israeli society, it can't bear scrutiny. The more you look at it, the less you're going to like what you see. And they're so sick, and this is so much part of their culture, they can't hide it. They can't really hide it. Not even at a moment when they really should be hiding it. They go on TV and talk like this about Indians, even as the prime minister is doing everything he can to give their prime minister a rim job. They go on TV. Yes, we took all of India. We took all of India. And they're talking. Oh, no, don't. I want to make it clear this is not an Israeli casualty. This is just the Americans. They can't help it because this is who they are. You can't hide who you are 24 hours a day. The thing is, what we used to see of Zionism and Israelis was very curated. It was very controlled. Now we're starting to see these videos leaking of off the cuff what they say on Israeli television. I'm sure if you find shit they said on Israeli television in 1977, it would be just as bad. We just didn't see it.
Well, yeah, this is where religious dogma and political hegemony really sort of collide, right? And because to the extent that, like, it's at times been difficult to see, okay, who's leading who around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we calling the shots? Like, is Israel our aircraft carrier, as RFK said? That's one understanding of it. But I think what this Iran war has really proven, for me at least, is that no, it actually is the other way around. Like, actually, Israel is the boss in this example, at least. Now, maybe that has to do with the fact that we have a uniquely compromised president in Donald Trump, perhaps. So, we could be seeing that dynamic show itself more under these especially sort of bizarre circumstances. But if you look at the way they act and the way they talk about the rest of the world, certainly they believe they're the ones in charge. They believe they're the ones in charge. At this moment, it seems like they are, because they dragged us into war, right? This is their war that Marco Rubio just admitted they dragged us into. So they have good reason to be as arrogant as they are in this particular time. But as you can see, that's just something that they feel all the time. How could you go on like, oh, thank heavens it's not Israeli? You talk about an ally that way? That's an ally? Like, you're right. They can't turn it off. That's how embedded it is into the Jewish Zionist psyche, that they can't get it under control, even when it's in their interest to.
Right.
All All righty. Let's take some Rumble rants and some super chats and close the lights on the stream today. We are at well over 25 in the YouTube chat. It's good for one of these. 25. And where are we at in the like column? Well over 1,000, right? What do we got? 1,256. All righty. All right. You got any super chats over there?
Sure do. Skyman, also Lindsey Graham. That plane is totally straight, by the way. Yes, sir. No big, hunky men with strong arms who make me feel safe for me. No, sir. Jolly Man Big Boy. Only problem with saying that Israel needed Trump to perform this is how does that explain Butler? Because at that point, it would have been Nikki Haley.
I mean,
little catch up.
Yeah, that doesn't
catch
yeah.
up. Yeah,
or, I mean, look,
you see any chunk out of his ear? What is he, fucking Wolverine?
Yeah, I mean that is a little bit strange how you look at close-ups of his ear and there's nothing there. But also, look, I mean, Israel, they're not the only deep state actors on Earth, right? I mean, we know there is a power struggle within the deep state itself.
Mhm.
So doesn't mean their hand is on everything.
It
was the Goyim. It was the Goyim who did Butler.
It was the Goyim who did it. Krasnaya Armada, Europeans crawling on their bellies to throw a couple tubes with their two masters, Greenland. LOL. Yeah, man. It's pretty pathetic. Carl Thoman. It appears that Epic Fury will achieve its goal of regime change in Bahrain. There is currently a Shia uprising against the Al Khalifa government. Yeah, I had a whole epic overview prepared that I'll do on Thursday that gets into that, but it would have been 45 minutes. Truth Seeker. So social media accounts are filled with Christian friends talking about how this is all in line with Revelation and the end of days, God, and they call us Muslims religious fanatics. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Where do you live that you got
Yep.
that many fanatical Christians in your social media feed?
Yeah, seriously, man.
Yeah.
But no, that was a story that was on my radar. Yeah, we were talking about it. There have been over 100 complaints in 3 days from service people about their commanders telling them shit like that.
Wow.
That is what we're fighting for, the rapture.
Wow. All right, that's all the super chats for now, it looks like.
That's everything, man.
All right, Eric Cousseau, better song for Hegseth is George Thorogood's I Drink Alone. Cam and G, Russ's hotel bed shit smear proves he will always be number 2. Got to watch the Q&A from Sunday to learn about that. Monkey Rotary, the Israelis have Kamala sucking off Willie Brown. Good one. Nocturnal Human, all of us on real anti-war left and even some on the right always knew Trump was only anti-war. In words, it was understandable how ignorant can be fooled, but I knew it. You did. I hope MAGA stands by this, or do they forget next month when Trump sends ICE into Ohio to save the cats and dogs and the Haitian immigrants? By the way, just in now, 50% of America now supports abolishing ICE. Only 39% say no. That's the other thing, the other thing about these kinds of wars, for some reason, they tend to hamstring the rest of what you're trying to do. Like George Bush's presidency was effectively over as a legislator once the Iraq war started. His agendas never really got anywhere. Like he got the tax cuts first, and then after the Iraq war, it was nothing. It affects everything. It affects everything because the public turns on you to such an extent that you don't have the political capital to do anything else.
Right.
It's just devastating. That's why I'm saying like they needed the one guy who could actually get it done for them, who'd actually be willing to pay this kind of political price for them. But notice what they did do before this. They got that one big, beautiful bill passed, right? See, they always get the tax cuts in the bank first, right? That's always the first thing they do. All right, first thing we're going to do, tax cuts for the rich. This way, if something goes wrong where the rest of our agenda can't get through, at least the money's in the bank.
At least we took care of the people who matter.
We took care of the people who matter, right? Exactly. I believe another aspect might lead to U.S. pullback is the cratering economy. Food, even water, all come from electric-generated petroleum or LNG. once again, the Chinese are way ahead of us. Look, why do you think? Look, Matt Walsh said before the war started, he said, if you start this war and the result of this war, even if it's good for the Iranian people, even if it's good for the Israeli people, even if it's good for the American people, he said, if the result of this war is Democrats take power again for the foreseeable future, then it's not worth it. Right? So that is going to be the calculus of every rational political actor. That's why they needed Trump to do it, because he's not a rational political actor, and he's almost certainly blackmailed. And that's, to me, is what the calculation is. Good to see you're still safe over there, George. I work night stock in a grocery store, so I'll give updates on how the shelves are looking as the war goes on, if it starts to look bad, or at least worse than it already is. All right. We got a man on the ground, nocturnal human. If you're older than 10 and believe in campaign promises, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you, Vienticus Prime. Well, this is the other thing, man. I mean, the political consequences of this, I mean, how do you take any campaign promise seriously at this point ever again? This is why the Republicans, this is why, not to repeat myself, this is why they look as lost as they are, because they know how damaging this is. Yeah, how do you run as an anti-war candidate again? You've been saying this for 10 years, and you go ahead and you stab the public in the back. How are you ever going to run for anything ever again? Like, it's just... it's very, very destabilizing. All right, everybody. That is our show. We thank you all very, very much for being here this afternoon. So, Rumblers, if you're in the Rumble chat, 769 of you are, I'm going to raid our friend Matt Weinglass's stream on the Homeless Left. But I learned my lesson. See, I'm waiting till the end of the show.
Yeah, exactly.
So that your broadcast is not interrupted. So if you're on Rumble, you're going to be redirected there in just a couple minutes. But I think we got one more super chat that just came in, right?
Oh, do we? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We do. CTS Fang. Everyone there, just enough time to convert to evangelism before rapture, or else you have no hope of fucking Mike Huckabee in paradise.
Wow.
It's going to make people convert to Islam.
Good one. Yeah, exactly. Right. All right, folks, that is our show. Thank you to the YouTubers. Thanks to the Rumblers. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. We're off tomorrow. We will be back Thursday, noon Eastern. Until then, thanks everybody very much for spending the afternoon with us. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.